Chapter 1356. The monkey, old pig, old sand, and Tang Sanzang had witnessed Qin Feng go from the first step to the second step in 5 years with their own eyes. They were both shocked and numb by such a change. Generally speaking, Tao Lords had to be extremely careful with every step they took, and it would take them thousands of years or even tens of thousands of years. However, Qin Feng's progress was shocking. 5 years. In just a mere 5 years, he had advanced from the first step to the second step. Moreover, his foundation was not weak at all. Under the boost of his solid foundation, it looked like he was about to step into the third step to achieve the true meaning of the Tao. How terrifying was that? When Qin Feng broke through to the second step and perfected his Tao foundation, countless Tao ancestors and Buddhist ancestors above the heavens were paying attention to the journey to the West. Khanate Tao seed of creation. I didn't expect him to elevate the acquired great Tao of water to the Khanate great Tao of creation in just 5 years. In the boundless light realm, the luminous Saha precious trees bloomed with boundless light. The radiant Buddha pondered. Opposite him, the mother of all Buddhas, Taoist Junyi, shook her head. This is enough to turn the rotten into the miraculous and the impossible into the possible. I'm afraid this person is an anomaly on the journey to the West this time. An anomaly? If that's the case, will Buddha Mother affect our Buddhist sex plan? The radiant Buddha frowned. The Buddha Mother smiled. It doesn't matter. So what if he's an anomaly? Senior brother and I were anomalies in the ancient times. It doesn't matter if he's an anomaly or not. What matters is his opinion of our Buddhist sect. Since he's willing to join us, so what if he's an anomaly? Our Buddhist sect isn't so narrow-minded. Moreover, at this time of revolution, our Buddhist sect should open its doors and accept many experts. The Buddha Mother was overjoyed. The miraculous Bodhi tree in her hand brushed, and countless Buddhist chants sounded. It was as if billions of Buddhas were chanting and praising, and countless incredible phenomena were born. That's a good idea. Khanate Tao seed of creation. This one has the root of wisdom. In the great void Tao palace of Mount Shoyang, the great void Tao ancestor had woken up from his dream traversing of the 3,000 great worlds. Beside him was another Tao ancestor, and the two were discussing something. The two Tao ancestors naturally saw what happened at the withered pine stream and fire cloud ridge. So what if he has the root of wisdom? If he didn't join the journey to the West, he might still have a chance to survive. Now he's dead for sure. The other Tao ancestor had a cold look on his face. He did not comment on Tao ancestor Great Void's praise. The journey to the West was a path to heaven, and Buddhism was passed down to the East. Did they really think that the Tao ancestors of the East were made of clay? As soon as he finished speaking, the sneer on his face faded slightly and was replaced by a mischievous smile. In addition, senior apprentice brother, do you think that person will tolerate the emergence of yet another Khanate creator Tao Lord with limitless potential? He pointed to the north. The north was where the North Continent of the 4 great divine lands was located. When the North Continent was mended in ancient times, it was smashed by the corpse of the black tortoise mending the heavens. The corpse of the black tortoise rotted within, producing countless poisonous gases, murderous auras, and resentment. This place was filled with barren hills and unruly rivers. It was heaven for the demon clan and hell for the human clan. Everyone knew that this was the territory of the demon race and the witch race. For countless years, the demon race, the witch race, and many primordial races have been entangled in this place. Although the Buddhist and Taoist sects were powerful in the primordial world, the demon race was not weak either. There were also 2 Tao ancestors among the demon race that suppressed the entire demon race. One of them was Tao ancestor Emperor Hua, the 6 ancient Tao ancestors. The other was Tao ancestor Thunder. Tao ancestor Thunder was born of the dragon race and attained the Tao thousands of years ago. He was also the backer of the dragon race of the 4 seas. All in all, the demon race was still revered by the ancient Tao ancestor Emperor Hua. In the center of the North Continent, Jinxiu Palace, the owner of the 2 Tao ancestors discussion, Tao ancestor Emperor Hua, was also looking at Qin Feng, who was breaking through in Fire Cloud Ridge. 4 Tao Ancestor Emperor Hua, who had grasped the Khanate Creation Great Tao and was known as the Khanate Creation Tao Ancestor. There was no doubt that Qin Feng was an extremely threatening existence with a Khanate Creation Tao seed. However, Tao Ancestor Emperor Hua had an indifferent expression and did not seem to care. She was an ancient Tao ancestor. Unlike the late-stage Tao ancestors and Buddhist ancestors of the Middle Ages, she had already reached level 17. She was not afraid of the challenge of a mere level 15 creation Tao Lord. However, although Tao Ancestor Emperor Hua did not care, the many demon sages under her command frowned coldly and had unusually fierce expressions. Since Tao Ancestor Emperor Hua boasted about her status, they did not have so many scruples. This person actually dared to violate Tao Ancestor Emperor Hua's taboo. How could they let this half-step golden immortal live? I've finally broken through and perfected my Tao foundation in one fell swoop. Qin Feng slowly comprehended the perfected 12th grade creation cloud of the Spirit Sea and opened his eyes. Countless mysteries of creation flickered in his mind. A hint of vicissitudes flickered in his eyes. This step was more difficult than he had imagined. In fact, 4 years ago, he had deduced the cultivation techniques corresponding to the various levels of the Khanate Creation Tao seed. It had only taken him a year to change his foundation. The remaining 4 years were mostly spent comprehending the true meaning of the more than 200 postnatal Great Taos. It was only when he reached perfection that he began to break through in one fell swoop. As expected, not only did he break through in one fell swoop, he was now only half a step away from the perfected Tao, true meaning of the third step. The third step of a Tao Lord's Tao, true meaning, was to go against the Khanate Tao, a true meaning of the Tao. The normal step was to first witness the true meaning of the postnatal Great Taos one by one, then go against the Khanate Tao and deduce the Khanate creation true meaning of the many postnatal Great Taos. This step might be simpler for half-step golden immortals who cultivated postnatal Great Taos. They only needed to witness an aspect of the postnatal Great Tao that was closer to the Khanate Great Tao. For example, apart from the changes of yin and yang, thunder and lightning contained the true meaning of destruction, rebirth, slaughter, and time. They had to choose an aspect as a direction to elevate their Khanate Great Tao in the future. For example, if they chose the true meaning of destruction, they could only elevate it to the Khanate Destruction Tao seed in the future. If they chose the true meaning of time, they could only elevate it to the Khanate Time Tao seed in the future. If they chose the true meaning of slaughter, they could only choose the Khanate Slaughter Tao seed to elevate their Khanate Great Tao in the future. As for half-step golden immortals who cultivated Khanate Great Taos, it was undoubtedly much more complicated. They had to elevate a common Khanate Great Tao true meaning from the many postnatal Great Taos. They had to get rid of the impurities and retain the essence. They also had to condense, purify, and complete the Tao seed bit by bit. This process was extraordinarily complicated. Ordinary half-step golden immortals could forget about completing this step if they had hundreds of thousands of years. Qin Feng had witnessed the many postnatal Great Tao true meanings below the Khanate Creation Tao seed. He had completed most of the third step, and only the final condensation was left. Chapter 1357. Actually, Qin Feng was indeed rather suitable to cultivate the Khanate Grand Tao of creation. He was skilled in formations, medicinal pills, equipment refinement, and various other miscellaneous skills, especially pill refinement. Actually, pill refinement, formation, and equipment refinement were all comprehending creation and circulating creation. Pill refinement was skilled in various combinations, the combination of various medical theories, and the vitality of creation. Formations converge the essence of the world, sun, and moon, and seize the creation of the heaven Tao. It was the same for equipment refinement, turning stone into gold and waste into treasure. all sorts of methods were comprehending creation and circulating creation. Thus, this transformation could be said to be extraordinarily smooth for Qin Feng. He just had to complete the final step of the third step to obtain the Tao intent and condense the connate Tao fruit bit by bit. That was a painstaking effort. But before that, he had to do another extremely important thing: to refine a new natal spiritual treasure. Natal spiritual treasures were Tao attainment spiritual treasures as well. They could be baptized along with every improvement of one's body, causing their potential to be boundless and unfathomable. Along with the attainment of the Tao, they could become Tao attainment spiritual treasures. For example, the tree of 7 wonders in the possession of the Buddha Mother. According to legend, the tree of 7 wonders was a branch from a connate spirit root that was plucked by the Buddha Mother and tempered day and night. Presently, its might was extremely vast. A casual swing of it could even cause Tao ancestors like the earthly immortal Tao ancestors to be unable to move and could only perish helplessly. Qin Feng had once cultivated a natal spiritual treasure, the Tower of Stars. However, along with Qin Feng's foundation gradually shifting to the Grand Tao of creation, this natal spiritual treasure that was supported by the Space Grand Tao would be useless in a short period of time. This time, along with witnessing the connate true intent of creation, it was the best time to condense a natal spiritual treasure that supported the connate Grand Tao of creation. Qin Feng had a few choices to condense the connate Grand Tao of creation, and he deduced a few natal spiritual treasure blueprints in his mind. One of them was the stately painting. The stately painting was a peerless divine artifact of legend. It contained the creation of the myriad of living beings in the universe, and its might was unfathomable. It contained a boundless void universe origin embryo. It was rumored that Tao ancestor Empress Hua was in charge of it. During the Great War of the Witches and Demons in ancient times, among the few Tao ancestors of the witch tribe, Time Tao ancestors who controlled the acquired Great Tao of Time, was suppressed by this map. In the end, he was knocked off his position as a Tao ancestor and obliterated. From this, one could see how ferocious it was. The second was the Cauldron of Good Fortune. According to legend, it was a natural spirit treasure that was born from the natural Grand Tao of creation, and it was also called the World Cauldron. It supposedly possessed boundless miraculous effects of reversing postnatal and transforming natural spirit treasures. In the primordial age, this treasure had already taken shape. It called itself Patriarch Heaven and Earth, and was the first innate Tao ancestor of the primordial age. The Cauldron of Creation was most adept at refining weapons. As long as any numinous treasure was refined by the Cauldron of Creation, not only would its effects be multiplied, its power would also increase greatly. However, this Tao ancestor that took shape from a natural spirit treasure was suppressed and killed by the innate Tao ancestor of slaughter, Luo Ho. In the past, the innate Tao ancestor of slaughter, Luo Ho, and Tao ancestor Hong Jun attained Tao together and competed for the control of the Void Universe. Tao ancestor Hong Jun invited the innate Tao ancestors of creation, heaven and earth, innate Tao ancestor of yin and yang, and innate Tao ancestor of 5 elements to help. After the battle, the 3 innate Tao ancestors fell, leaving only the severely injured Tao ancestor Hong Jun. It was rumored that it was because the innate Tao ancestor of slaughter had injured Tao ancestor Hong Jun that the subsequent 12 top Tao ancestors, including the 6 Tao ancestors of the primordial age, rose one after another and dominated the world, contending with Tao ancestor Hong Jun. This prevented him from monopolizing the void circular universe. The third was the 12th grade Green Lotus of Creation. The original form of the 12th grade Green Lotus of Creation was the second innate Tao ancestor of creation, and it was a top innate spiritual root. The connate spirit treasure Cauldron of Creation had been destroyed by the 4 immortal slaying swords of Luo Ho, the connate Tao ancestor of slaughter. Its nascent embryo of fortune was damaged, and it was reduced to a connate treasure that was only slightly more precious. There was only one innate spiritual treasure. As the cauldron of creation was removed from the identity of an innate spiritual treasure of creation, the 12th grade green lotus of creation took the opportunity to occupy the creation and become an innate spiritual treasure of creation Tao. He became the innate Tao ancestor of creation. This was the second innate Tao ancestor of creation. However, this Tao ancestor of green lotus was not very lucky. After the battle between Tao ancestor Hung Jun and demon ancestor Luo Ho, the Purple Cloud Palace retreated to the depths of the void chaos, and two major forces took the opportunity to rise. They were the shaman race and the demon race. The shaman race and the demon race had strong luck, giving birth to several Tao ancestors. Among them, the demon race had two Tao ancestors, namely the innate Tao ancestor of Great Yi, Di Jun, and the innate Tao ancestor of Tai Chu, Dongwang Tai Yi. Most of the existences in the void universe were involved in the following shaman tribulation. In that tribulation, the shaman race and the demon race fought for the position of the overlord of heaven and earth. Countless experts died, including 6 or 7 Tao ancestors. It was an unprecedented tragedy. Even in the previous Dragon Phoenix tribulation, the number of experts who died was only 1/3 of this tribulation. Tao ancestor Green Lotus was one of the unlucky ones. He died in the hands of the innate universe Tao ancestor of the sorcerer race, Dijiang. His creation benefited the next innate Tao ancestor of Yin Virtue, Goddess Hutu. It was also because of the unique vitality of Tao ancestor Green Lotus that Goddess Hutu was able to create the netherworld reincarnation and the 18 levels of hell and take the opportunity to integrate with innate Yin Virtue. Of course, the sorcerer race was not the only one who benefited from Tao ancestor Green Lotus' death. After Tao ancestor Green Lotus was besieged, suppressed, and killed by several Tao ancestors of the sorcerer race, Goddess Nuwa of the demon race also found the opportunity to integrate with Tao and become a Tao seed of creation. Thus, she became the third innate creation Tao ancestor and was titled Tao Ancestor Emperor Nuwa. Although the cauldron of creation and the 12th grade green lotus were completely broken and were no longer innate spiritual treasures of innate creation Tao, their strength was undeniable. Especially the 12th grade green lotus, it withstood the joint attack of the 4 Tao ancestors of the sorcerer race. If it were not for an accident, Tao ancestor Green Lotus would not have died so easily. Qin Feng only thought for a moment and decided to choose the 12th grade Green Lotus of creation as his natal spiritual treasure. The reason was simple. After his body sublimated, the true inheritance corresponding to the innate creation Great Tao was called the 12th grade White Lotus of creation Tao Proving Art. The natal divine light that cultivated would show the 12th grade Green Lotus. If he chose the 12th grade Green Lotus as his natal spiritual treasure, there would be a heavenly omen. However, to refine the 12th grade Green Lotus, he would need a top lotus spiritual root as the main body. This was worth thinking about. It was a coincidence that he had such an innate lotus with him. The innate spiritual flower had turned into an innate spiritual treasure. Originally, it was injured by someone, and its most fundamental, innate, inextinguishable spiritual light was absorbed by him. Only the origin turned into a lotus seed and was reborn. Although this lotus seed was already showing signs of degenerating into an acquired lotus, as long as he was willing to part with the world origin power of the creator space, it would not be a problem to accelerate the growth of an innate lotus. Chapter 1358. Withered Pine Stream, Fire Cloud Ridge. On top of the mountain, Qin Feng opened his eyes, exuding an aura of his own. The aura of creation manifested around him. He was as gentle as jade, like a graceful gentleman. Congratulations! The master and disciples went forward to congratulate him. This kind of breakthrough was really exciting. Congratulations to you, too. Qin Feng could not hide the joy in the corner of his eyes. After the breakthrough, he could clearly feel that his control of the laws had improved. He could also see more subtle changes in his operation. His strength had improved abnormally. Suddenly, Qin Feng raised his eyebrows and looked up. There was a strange glint in the corner of his eyes. He sensed an extremely fine wisp of fire aura flashing above his head. Others might miss it and think that it was the fire aura of the sun, but he could clearly feel an unusual heat. Save him, save him! At the same time, a faint voice came from the mountain ridge. It seems like someone is calling for help. It seems like a child is asking for help. The monk's expression changed, and his eyes flickered with suspicion. I'm afraid it's another demon playing tricks. Qin Feng chuckled. Monkey, old pig, and old Shah also sneered. In this wilderness where demons roamed, how could there be a child asking for help? Qin Feng smiled faintly. There was a rather famous demon in Wither Pine Stream and Fire Cloud Ridge. This was the entrance of the cave abode of Red Boy, the great sage who pacifies heaven, one of the 7 great demon sages of the demon race. Let's go and see this demon's performance. The few of them smiled sinisterly and saw that the other party's eyes were flashing fiercely. They had killed many such demons along the way. The few of them walked a few steps and saw a child hanging on a big tree at the bottom of the hill. The child was naked. When he saw the few of them coming forward, he immediately showed a pitiful look and shouted, "Kind masters, please save him." When he saw the pitiful child, even though he suspected that the child was a demon, the monk's 5 decays of heaven and man acted up. Out of compassion, he could not help but go forward. Fortunately, Qin Feng grabbed him from the side. When he saw the anger on the monk's face, he did not say anything and slapped the monk's neck, knocking him unconscious. At the side, Monkey, Old Pig, and Old Shah were not surprised by this scene. In the past 4 to 5 years, the monk had made many mischievous mistakes due to his benevolence and was caught by the demons. Seeing that he couldn't stop this, he simply gave the monk a slap and knocked him out every time he saw the monk's 5 decay of Deva act up. "What are you doing? Why did you slap this elder unconscious?" When Red Boy saw this scene, he was a little stunned. Clearly, he did not expect that the few of them would be the first to knock out the most compassionate monk. Without this monk, how are they going to act out the rest of the show? For a moment, Red Boy felt like he was in a mess. "Kid, don't be so long-winded. First, tell me clearly, who are you? Why are you swinging naked on a tree? Didn't your parents tell you that running around naked like this is immoral?" Zhu Beiji pulled a long face and said seriously. By the side, Old Shah glanced at Red Boy on the tree. Amidst Red Boy's anger, he glanced at Red Boy's crotch and shook his head regretfully. What a pitiful child. Red Boy was also an experienced demon. Although he looked like a child, he knew what he should know. When he saw Monk Shah glance at his crotch with a look of regret, he nearly blew his top. He was so incensed that he wished he could spit out a mouthful of flames to reduce the master and disciples to ashes. However, he suppressed his anger and cried out with tears in his eyes, "Master, there's a withered pine stream in Shangxi. There's a village on the other side of the stream. I'm from there. My grandfather's surname is Red. Because he amassed a large amount of wealth, he went by the name of Red Million." Red Million? Qin Feng and the others looked at each other and almost burst out laughing. "Master, what are you laughing at?" Red Boy was getting angrier. He had already made himself sound so pitiful, yet the master and disciples were still laughing. To think that they were monks. Did they have any compassion? Well, child, don't be offended. When we hear tragic stories, the more we can't bear to hear them, the more we laugh. The unlucky old Shah was full of nonsense. Yet, he looked extremely solemn. "Is that so?" Red Boy looked doubtful. "Yes." Qin Feng nodded. "Continue." "Okay." Red Boy deliberately sniffled as his expression turned sorrowful. "That old ancestor of mine had returned to the world a long time ago and left his fortune to my father. Recently, he was extravagant and abandoned his wealth. He changed his name to Red Million and focused on making friends with heroes from all over the world. He borrowed money and hoped for interest. How could he have known that the nameless person would scam him? He didn't get his money back. My father swore an oath not to lend a single cent. The person who borrowed money was poor and had no plans. He formed a group of bandits and attacked us in broad daylight. He robbed us of all our wealth and killed my father. Seeing that my mother was somewhat beautiful, he abducted her to be the wife of a bandit. At that time, my mother couldn't bear to part with me. She hugged me in her arms and cried, trembling in fear as she followed the bandits. Unexpectedly, they came to this mountain and wanted to kill me. Fortunately, my mother begged them not to kill me. Instead, they hung me on a tree with a rope and let me die of cold and hunger. Those bandits took my mother somewhere unknown. I have been hanging here for 3 days and 3 nights. No one came to visit me. I don't know which life I had accumulated. In this life, I met an old master. If he is willing to be merciful and save my life, I will sell my body to repay his kindness. Even if the yellow sand covers my face, I will not forget. At this point, Red Boy glanced at the master and disciples who were deep in thought. He cried even more sadly. Seeing this, the 4 of them sneered. Chin Fong couldn't be bothered to listen to Red Boy's nonsense. He directly stepped forward. A pure white divine light flew out from his body. It seemed to contain the mysteries of the heavens. In the brilliance, there were all living things growing in it. Billions of living things changed. In an instant, it descended on Red Boy. I've been exposed. Red Boy was shocked. He instantly realized that his disguise had been seen through. When he thought of how he had been fooled by this group of people for so long, he immediately exploded with anger. True, Samadhi fire. A monstrous flame appeared. It seemed to be able to burn all the worlds in the heavens and billions of chaos. True Samadhi fire was a supreme divine ability that surpassed the limit of a half-step golden immortal's control. This kind of supreme divine ability was very rare. Even a half-step golden immortal would be greatly injured. The monkey was on his original trajectory. He was caught off guard and suffered a great loss. His cultivation of the 3rd step of a half-step golden immortal was also burned. When the monkey, old pig, and old sand saw this terrifying flame, their expressions changed drastically. Their primordial spirits violently warned them. They subconsciously grabbed Tang, Sanzang, and retreated thousands of feet away, looking at the terrifying reddish-yellow flame that was like a snake or a scorpion. Their faces were filled with horror. However, it was useless against Chin Fong. He had long been on guard. Moreover, he had mastered the acquired water element. Water countered fire. Chin Fong pointed. The natal divine light turned into a huge white lotus platform. The flame that could burn all things turned into countless petals and flew into Red Boy's body. Visible to the naked eye, the countless reddish-red fire clouds around Red Boy were sealed layer by layer. In an instant, he turned into a mortal. Chapter 1359. Let go of me. Let go of me. You monks, do you know who my father is? Red Boy was still struggling, but he was cowardly at heart. Isn't your father that old bull, the bull demon king? Kid, do you really think we don't know who you are? The monkey suddenly said coldly. Chin Fong glanced at the monkey and saw a strange look in the monkey's eyes. Since you know who I am, let me go. If you alert my father, the great sage who pacifies heaven, the bull demon king, I won't be able to protect you. Red Boy was unusually arrogant. Can't protect us? In Old Son's opinion, I'm afraid you can't even save yourself today. The monkey sneered, a trace of hatred faintly discernible. You want to kill me? Red Boy felt the killing intent in the monkey's eyes and shuddered for a moment. Panic appeared on his face. The monkey did not answer directly. He just looked coldly at Red Boy, who was sealed in the white lotus platform. Kid, you only know how to use your true Samadhi fire to commit crimes. But do you know who the original owner of the true Samadhi fire is? What original owner? What do you mean by saying such brainless words, monkey? My true Samadhi fire was born from my mother's womb, nurtured by the spirit of the 800-leaf flaming mountain. Red Boy could not help but show a trace of pride when he mentioned the true Samadhi fire. The true Samadhi fire was a kind of top supreme divine ability. It was born with the mysteries of the great Tao. Even many half-step golden immortals had to look up to such a divine ability. If a half-step golden immortal could have such a divine ability, even if he could not be invincible in the same realm, he could still become a top first-rate half-step golden immortal. He could be born with such a divine ability. In terms of background, he was also one of the top. On the side, Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sand looked at each other. There was no lack of surprise in their eyes. The three of them were considered the best among the half-step Golden Immortals. However, they were still a step away from the top first-rate half-step Golden Immortals. What they lacked was such a supreme divine ability. Such a supreme mystic ability was simply too rare. Even though Qin Feng's mystic abilities were the best in the Spirit Sea realm and the Star River realm, and he had countless secret techniques and mystic abilities in his mind, he still hadn't comprehended a supreme mystic ability that belonged solely to him. Generally, only those Tao ancestors who have been passed down for a long time would have one or two true inheritances of this kind of supreme divine ability. There were two reasons why the monkey's strength was far stronger than ordinary half-step Golden Immortals. He was known as a first-rate half-step Golden Immortal. Firstly, he had the Tao ancestors' legacy. Secondly, he had a supreme divine ability. A supreme divine ability like Red Boy's was simply unimaginable. Once he successfully matured, he would probably become a top-notch half-step Gold Immortal. Moreover, his chances of reaching the Tao integration stage would be higher than ordinary half-step Gold Immortals. However, the more this was the case, the more intense the hatred in the monkey's eyes became. He chuckled coldly with a hint of mockery and even sorrow. You were born with a supreme divine power. That old bull is really good to you. He cheated old son of his supreme treasure, but it was you who benefited from it. On the side, Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sha were extremely shocked. They cannot believe their ears. This monkey actually said that the true Samadhi fire divine ability was his, and it was cheated by the Bull Demon King? Red Boy was also slightly stunned. Then, his face flushed red and his eyes flashed with a fierce light. You're lying. I was born with it. You're lying to me. Lie to you? Huh. The monkey's face was ferocious, as if he had been greatly provoked. That damn bull probably didn't tell you that not only does this supreme divine ability belong to me, old son, but also that the monkey's words stagnated. His eyes were about to burst. The anger that was about to explode made him go crazy. He saw a boundless evil fire rush out of the monkey's primordial spirit. Demonic chi raged and was about to explode. This was going to go berserk. What kind of stimulation did this monkey receive? Why is he so crazy? He's going to go berserk. Qin Feng was secretly shocked. He circulated the Buddhist power in his body and recited the scriptures. Sarira is the emptiness of all dermis. It is neither born nor destroyed, neither dirty nor clean, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore, there is no color in the air. There is no feeling, thought, action, consciousness, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, color, sound, smell, and touch. There is no realm of vision, and there is no realm of consciousness. There is no avidya, and there is no end to 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 avidya. There is no suffering, no Tao, no wisdom, and no attainment. Therefore, there is no attainment. Bodhisattva, according to the Prajnaparamita, his heart is free of worries. Without worries, without fear, he is far away from the inverted dream and has achieved nirvana. The Buddhas of 3 generations, according to the Prajnaparamita, obtained the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore, the Prajnaparamita is the great divine mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra, the supreme mantra, the unparalleled mantra. It can get rid of all suffering, and it is real. An invisible Bodhi light that was as cool as water appeared. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on the monkey's heart. The monkey suddenly woke up from his boundless anger. The uncontrollable, demonic anger between his brows quietly disappeared. This was the Vajra Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra. The scripture contained extraordinary Buddhist power. When it was recited by Qin Feng with unparalleled Buddhist power, it had a strange power that could calm one's heart. It could purify foolishness and resolve 3,000 worries. He had indirectly saved the monkey once. He had also saved the red boy once. If not for that, the monkey would have beaten the red boy to death. After calming down, the monkey's fierce eyes revealed a hint of gratitude. He nodded at Qin Feng and said, "Kid, can you let me deal with this little brat? I want to take back the true samadhi fire on him." "Monkey, do as you wish." Qin Feng nodded. There was a hint of envy in his eyes. After so many days of interaction, Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Lao Sha all knew that the monkey had originally cultivated the postnatal Tao of fire. The Khanate Great Tao of Strength only appeared after the postnatal Tao of Fire was sublimated. If the monkey could refine the true Samadhi fire again, he would definitely have another terrifying trump card. He might even become one of the top half-step golden immortals. However, this was only envy. The true Samadhi fire was indeed a supreme divine power. However, even if the others stripped the red boy of his divine power, they would not be able to contain and refine it. Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Lao Sha were all unable to bear the supreme divine power of the great Tao of Fire. If they forcefully refined it, it would even cause flaws in their original Tao foundation. The monkey carried the red boy to the mountain ridge on the other side to refine the true Samadhi fire. Looking at the monkey's back, Old Pig muttered, "How strange. I wonder what grudge the monkey has with the Bull Demon King. Why does he hate the Bull Demon King so much? Aren't the 7 great sages sworn brothers who share life and death, joys and sorrows together?" Qin Feng did not say anything. That supreme divine power was indeed enviable, but Qin Feng knew that it was suitable for the monkey and not for him. At this moment, a Khanate lotus seed floated in the depths of his primordial spirit. It was a lotus seed formed after the Khanate water god's black lotus origin was destroyed. It was originally going to degenerate into a postnatal Tao. However, after being watered by the world origin force of the creator space, this lotus seed became more vigorous and rich in Khanate Tao. Once it took root and sprouted, it would be refined into a natal lotus flower. Qin Feng would then be able to take the opportunity to enter the 3rd step of the half-step golden immortal realm. Chapter 1360. Half a day later, the monkey extracted Red Boy's true Samadhi fire. Red Boy did not die, but his strength was greatly reduced. His primordial spirit degenerated, and the demon core in his body returned to nothing. From a demon king comparable to a heaven immortal, he became immortal. The monkey was merciful. After sealing his memory, he threw him to a childless family. When Red Boy was sealed, a female immortal in the cloud-scraping cave of Gile Mountain next to the blazing mountain sent something. The female immortal was dressed in a green robe and was extremely beautiful. This was a divine ability that the female immortal was currently comprehending and refining. This sudden impulse was negligible, so she subconsciously ignored it. The master and disciples continued on their journey. Half a month later, they arrived in front of a boundless black river. There were lakes and rivers all over the world, and there were many streams and caves in the world. Everyone had a chance to meet, but no one had seen the black river, which was as black as oil. The black water surged, and there was a great demon king in the river. It was a dragon son of the Jingha Dragon King. He was eyeing it covetously, wanted to take advantage of the black river to eat a bite of Tripitaka's flesh. The demon pretended to be a fisherman and wanted to deceive everyone. However, before he could get close, Qin Feng saw through him and suppressed him with a handprint. If the 3rd prince, Aolai, had said that they were cousins and pleaded for mercy, Qin Feng would have pulled out the tendons and skinned the little dragon. The 3rd prince, Aolai, summoned the prime minister turtle of the West Sea Dragon Palace and took the little dragon away. The master and disciples crossed the Black River and entered the Chechi Kingdom. In the Chechi Kingdom, there were 3 demon Taoists from the North Continent who were trying to gain power and suppress Buddhism. After a battle, the monkey challenged the 3 demon Taoists alone. He personally defeated the Tiger Force, Goat Force, and Deer Force. The 3 demon Taoists wanted to fight to the death, but they were forcibly converted by Qin Feng with the unity of all beings. They were turned into 3 guardian Vajras and kept in the boundless Buddhist kingdom. As the journey to the west continued, Qin Feng also realized that if the master and disciple succeeded in obtaining the scriptures in the future, one of them would definitely become a Buddha. No matter who it was, they had to set up a mountain and ask for the help of others to establish a branch of Buddhism and suppress a part of the greater thousand world. It was necessary to convert some of the protectors. It was even to the extent that every time they passed by some cities, Qin Feng would choose a place to preach the scriptures and preach the Buddhist Dharma to widely enlighten all living beings in the world by faith. Similarly, he would also give good karma, enlighten all living beings, and widely carry out matters of education. Perhaps because of this, Qin Feng felt that his inner demon was gradually turning from evil to good. The incomparably evil inner demon actually transformed into countless protectors that could also control one's state of mind, shuttling through the state of mind of all living beings. However, it was able to transform between good and evil, gaining a little more heaven and earth Tao aura and less evil. Every Buddha had his own Buddhist kingdom, which was a place for his followers to rest. It was also the headquarters of a Buddha, although the foundation of Buddhism was said to be in Spirited Mountain and Buddha Land. Experts who truly understood Buddhism knew that the foundation of all Buddhas was in the billions of greater thousand worlds that were like eternal sands. The Buddhist kingdoms of all Buddhas were made up of extraterritorial worlds like a beehive. The higher one's position in Buddhism, the more important one's position was in the countless greater thousand, middle thousand, and lesser thousand honeycomb-shaped planes. However, as a newly ascended Buddha, Qin Feng didn't move his Buddhist kingdom over. Instead, he established his Buddhist kingdom in the Master God space and opened up an area in the Master God space to settle down his followers who believe in the Lord of the boundless sea of Nanwushi. At the same time, he operated traces of his primordial spirit to transform into countless protectors that went deep into the many worlds he controlled and began to broadcast the power of the Lord of the boundless sea of Nanwushi. During this period of time, Qin Feng could sense the birth of Buddhist faith in several worlds. There were even gods of the Feluan divine system who had become followers of the Lord of the boundless sea of Nanwushi to comprehend Buddhist secret techniques and become protectors of the Lord of the boundless sea of Nanwushi. Gradually, they formed a small 8 heavens. For the gods of the Feluan crystal wall system who ascetically cultivated the great path of faith, the application of Buddhism and the method of refining faith was extremely attractive. It was a pity that although Qin Feng had joined Buddhism, he hadn't yet entered the core and hadn't obtained the true teachings of the great path of faith in the depths of Buddhism. Otherwise, there might be a day when the Feluan crystal wall system could give birth to one or even several Buddhas who served under the Lord of the boundless sea of Nanwushi. Although he wasn't completely powerful, Qin Feng was qualified to open his own line of Buddhism and become a Buddha of his own line. Of course, not all the gods of the divine system under his command specialized in Buddhism. Only a portion of the experts who were willing couldn't resist the temptation and specialized in Buddhism. Most of them still followed their own path. Seeing Qin Feng's actions, Old Pig and Old Sand followed suit and circulated the various Buddhist teachings they had obtained from Tang Sanzang to broaden the number of fated believers. Along the way, they silently built many temples and even arhats. If one day they could become the supreme Buddha of the Western Pure Land of ultimate bliss, this would undoubtedly become a part of their initial foundation. If this continued, when they reached the great Thunderclap Temple of Spirited Mountain in the future, their achievements would probably be far beyond the imagination of the Buddhas. The Buddhas also sensed this and had different opinions about it. However, the Buddhas had a much better impression of it, especially for Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sand, the 3 half-step golden immortals who became Buddhas halfway through their journey. Many Buddhas had more recognition in their hearts. The more prosperous the fate of Buddhism was, the more the Buddhas who were the ancestors of the Buddhas would receive. On the other side, many Tao Fathers were increasingly disgusted with the few of them who were heading west. Many killer moves appeared one after another, and the journey to the west became more and more difficult. Along the way, they experienced the snow disaster of Tongtian River and destroyed the king of Tongtian Afflatus. There was also the Laojuan's Mount, the cave master of Golden Pocket Cave, who held the Taishang Dao ancestors' Vajra ring to stop them. Fortunately, Qin Feng knew about this devil's background and launched a sneak attack with 4 half-step golden immortals to suppress the cave master of Golden Pocket Cave and prevent him from using his Taoist spiritual treasure. Otherwise, the 4 half-step golden immortals would have died here. This calamity was extremely thrilling. After passing Golden Pocket Mountain and traveling for a few more months, they reached the border of Shiliang. When they passed Zimu River, there were more twists and turns. They didn't know the details, but drank the water of Zimu River. Although Qin Feng, the monkey, and Old Sand were affected by the 5 decay of celestial being, they didn't have much appetite. Only the monk and Old Pig couldn't withstand the scorching hot weather. After drinking a few mouthfuls of Zimu River's water, they became pregnant. For a moment, the monk and Old Pig were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Chapter 1361. Fortunately, after entering Shiliang Female Kingdom, the locals of Shiliang Female Kingdom told them that there was a falling pregnancy spring in a Taoist temple outside the city called Mount Jiang. Drinking the water could relieve one's pregnancy. If not, the monk and Old Pig could only stay here for a few months to give birth to their son before they could continue their journey. At the foot of Mount Jiang, there was Rui Nunnery and the only falling pregnancy spring in Shiliang Female Kingdom. The nunnery was prosperous. A monk in a black robe with long hair walked down the stairs. His eyes were indifferent and deep, like an ancient well. This person was none other than Qin Feng. After arriving at Shiliang Female Kingdom, he could clearly feel the changes in the innate lotus seed in his body. It was restless and was about to sprout. Therefore, he took over the monkey's task and came to Rui Nunnery to find a bowl of falling pregnancy spring for the monk and Old Pig. At the same time, he was investigating the reason for the innate lotus seed's abnormal behavior. Rui Nunnery, looking at the words above the nunnery, Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He then followed the bustling crowd and went deep into the nunnery. His body was like a ray of light. Wherever he passed, the believers did not seem to notice his presence. He went deep into the nunnery to sense the location of the falling pregnancy spring. In a few steps, he arrived before the falling pregnancy spring. There was a Taoist guarding before the falling pregnancy spring. He wore a starry crown and a red robe with golden threads. His cloud shoes were embroidered with embroidery, and a belt around his waist was exquisite. He wore a pair of embroidered stockings and a half-exposed skirt. He held the Rui golden hook in his hand. True immortal Rui, the aura of a true immortal was emitted. True immortal Rui was rumored to be the brother of the great sage who pacifies heaven, the Bull Demon King. He was also Red Boy's uncle. However, compared to the Bull Demon King's family, true immortal Rui was a complete failure. He was only an ordinary Dharma characteristic true immortal in the primordial spirit realm. In some sects in the earth domain, Dharma Laksana, true immortals, could be considered giants and giants who had been free and unfettered since ancient times. However, compared to the Cloud Contact Cave in Jile Mountain, this family could only be considered as trash. They brought shame to their family. Qin Feng's mind was filled with the profound mysteries of the fallen womb spring and the mother-child river. A streak of divine light descended, causing true immortal Rui to fall to the ground and fall unconscious. Qi Feng's gaze landed on the falling embryo spring, and a peculiar, innate Tao ripple of creation emanated from the spring. That's right, it was the innate Tao rhyme of creation. The connate Tao rhyme of creation was extremely subtle. If not for the fact that the connate lotus seed was born from the Tao of creation, even some top-notch half-step gold immortals would not have been able to sense it. Qin Feng extended a hand, and a cluster of emerald green mystic light appeared in his palm. The lotus seed of innate fortune flew out from his palm impatiently. This connate lotus seed looked a little different from its parent, the connate water god black lotus. After being refined by Qin Feng's auspicious clouds over the past year, as well as the power of creation in the creator space, it had evolved from pure water to creation. Furthermore, it changed from black to pale green. The green connate lotus seed sank into the falling embryo spring like a streak of light and returned to Qin Feng's spirit sea moments later. Qin Feng closed his eyes. In Ji Hao's spiritual space, a strange change was born from the natural lotus seed, as if it had finally absorbed all the nutrients it needed to grow. Strands of extremely mysterious roots broke through the seed coat of the lotus seed, and the embryo and radicle grew out from the seed. It looked exceptionally green and small. It absorbed the rich connate Tao of creation from the depths of the auspicious clouds and grew rapidly. The first grade lotus throne grew rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it reached the 12th grade, becoming a 12th grade connate azure lotus throne. The connate Tao rhyme filled the air, and the true intent of the connate Tao of creation manifested within it. It looked verdant and glistening, as if the vitality of billions of beings, the great 1,000 universes, and all living things were manifested on the lotus leaves. There is also the power of creation of earth, water, wind, fire, lightning, yin, and yang. Qin Feng took a single step and became a third-step Tao Lord, attaining the perfected true intent. It's really a great creation. Qin Feng opened his eyes, and there was a peculiar glint in his eyes. Perhaps no one would have thought that the mother-child river and the falling embryo spring contained a part of the ancient 12th grade lotus throne's remnants. It was also because of this that the connate lotus seed was so restless and thirsty when it entered the Shiliang female kingdom. The falling embryo spring and the mother-child river contained the best nutrients for it to break through and take root. After obtaining a part of the ancient 12th grade lotus throne's creation, it became a true connate magic treasure in a single step. Qin Feng's thoughts moved, and green lotuses bloomed on the auspicious clouds. This item was indeed a treasure with boundless defense. During the primordial age, it was said that after the 36th grade chaos lotus throne split open, it gave birth to 5 12th grade lotus thrones. They were red, white gold, green, and black. The black lotus of massacre, golden lotus of merit, green lotus of creation, and red lotus of karmic fire appeared in the world. Each of them was exceptionally precious. Every one of them was a defensive treasure. A natal spiritual treasure that used the lotus as its foundation might be slightly inferior in other aspects, but in terms of defense, it was top-notch. However, Qin Feng's expression was a little strange. After the birth of the connate lotus seed and its transformation into a 12th grade natal lotus throne, he had improved in the connate creation Tao. The changes in his natal divine light gave birth to an unimaginable and unique power. After this transformation, the 12th grade, white lotus purification disintegration divine lights might not be inferior to ordinary pinnacle supreme mystiques in certain aspects. Next was the 4th step of outer Tao derivation. Qin Feng was a great emperor from another world, and he had the overgod space and the various worlds as his foundation. However, he was still a little short of breaking through to the 4th step of outer Tao derivation. He still lacked some maturity. The 4th step of Tao Lord was not something that could be broken through just because one wanted to. At this step, one's Tao heart would be clear and flawless. Whether it was communicating with Tao Lords of the same level, sparring, or entering the mortal world to train and listen to golden immortals preaching the Tao, it would not be of much use. Most Tao Lords would need to spend an extremely long time to achieve outer Tao derivation. It might take 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even hundreds of thousands of years to cleanse their hearts. After a long time, they would naturally be able to achieve outer Tao derivation. For example, the monkey had already reached this step a long time ago. However, he was still tempering himself and constantly comprehending the great Tao to prepare for the fourth step. However, at this step, Qin Feng had completely caught up with the monkey's progress. As for who would achieve Tao derivation first, that was really hard to say. The monkey had the advantage of staying at this step for a long time and tempering himself for a long time. Qin Feng was not inferior either. Several of his doppelgangers were the heavenly Tao saints of the various large worlds. He was able to obtain a deeper level of comprehension almost all the time through the creator space. In a short period of time, the monkey had the upper hand. However, after a long period of time, Qin Feng's foundation would catch up very quickly. Chapter 1362. Just as Qin Feng obtained the legacy of the ancient 12th grade green lotus and broke through to the third step, Tao Lord Realm. In a mansion in the Zimu River, a pair of eyes were red with jealousy. That was also a half-step golden immortal who cultivated the connate creation great Tao. It was not that no one had noticed the abnormality of the Zimu River and the falling embryo spring. Drinking a mouthful of it could make a woman impregnate without being subjected to it. Such a mystery clearly contained an astonishing creation. Ever since the birth of the Zimu River, there was no lack of half-step golden immortals who came to investigate. However, most of them knew nothing about it. Even if they knew that this place contained extraordinary creation, most of them were unwilling to waste their time here, as they had been reluctant to leave this place for thousands of years. However, there were also people who had been waiting here, unwilling to give up and searching for the opportunities here. Jiur, Ghost Mother, was one of them. She was a female official of the Shi Liang female kingdom in the ancient times. She was involved in a palace battle and died a tragic death. After that, she became a malicious spirit and wandered the world. At the foot of Mount Jiang, she accidentally obtained a part of the legacy of the ancient Tao ancestor Xianming, which allowed her to reverse life and death with her ghost body. She obtained the 5 creations and became a half-step golden immortal in the creation Tao. Tao ancestor Xianming was a postnatal Tao ancestor of the ancient Witch clan. He was the founder of the ghost immortal lineage and the ancestor of the ghost immortal lineage. In the ancient times, he had fallen in the hands of the demon race's connate Tao ancestor Tai. The Xianming Tao verification scripture he left behind was the supreme scripture of the ghost immortal lineage. It contained several great Taos, such as Xianming, creation, death, and life and death. In particular, there were a few supreme treasures of the ghost immortal lineage that were recorded in it. Jiur, Ghost Mother, could be considered to be someone with a fortuitous encounter. She had been hiding in the Zimu River and rarely got involved in any disputes. Very few people knew that there was a half-step golden immortal of the ghost immortal lineage in the Zimu River who had cultivated the creation Tao. When Qin Feng activated the creation and hatched the connate lotus seed, she could no longer hold back when she sensed the astonishing creation aura in the Rui nunnery. Her figure appeared outside the Rui nunnery, and her gaze instantly fell on the 12th grade green lotus of creation in the auspicious cloud above Qin Feng's head. His eyes flickered with an astonishingly greedy expression. That supreme treasure contained an astonishing power of creation, and it could be said to be a defensive supreme treasure. She had seen the lotus seed fly out of the ancient well with her own eyes. She was certain that the 12th grade green lotus of creation was the ultimate creation in the mother-child river. How could she be willing to watch an unfamiliar half-step golden immortal snatch the opportunity that she had guarded for 10,000 years? However, no matter how he looked at it, the other party didn't seem like someone easy to deal with. No matter what, I can't let him have that treasure. An ominous glint flashed in her eyes. Anger rose from her heart, and her guts grew. 9 pitch-black shadows appeared around her. These were the 9 heavenly ghost kings that she had condensed with her supreme technique. They were the 9 natal ghosts. These 9 natal ghosts were all incomparably purine. They were refined from newborn baby ghosts. He had fed countless baby ghosts to grow from an soul to a heavenly ghost king. The number of ghosts that had died in the mouths of these spirit ghosts numbered in the millions. This type of ghost king was extremely vicious, immortal, and indestructible. Moreover, it had the ability to travel through the void. It was extremely vicious. It could be said that it was the natural king of assassination. Even if a half-step golden immortal was pierced through by this heavenly ghost king, his Tao body and primordial spirit would be gnawed away. Just as the 9 ghost shadows pierced through the void and were within 30 feet of the half-step golden immortal, Ghost Mother couldn't help but smile. Suddenly, Qin Feng turned around, and a pure white brilliance swept out from his body. Bang! Ghost Mother trembled violently. She could clearly sense that the 9 heavenly ghost king was being purified and refined inch by inch in that white light. Oh no, I'm no match for him. Ghost Mother was shocked. She woke up from her jealousy and anger, and her mind suddenly became clear. However, she was not afraid. The heavenly ghost race had always been good at flying, especially the top heavenly ghosts. They were born with a trace of spatial divine ability and could easily break through the void. She was a ghost mother and a top existence among them. With a cold look in her eyes, she flashed and turned into a stream of light, piercing through the void and disappearing on the spot. The 9 heavenly ghost king was just one of her methods. Although a half-step golden immortal who had attained the 3rd step of Tao, true meaning, was powerful, it was not as if she had never encountered one before. Tao ancestor Xianming was famous for assassination among the ancient Tao ancestors. Even the Khanate Grand Primordium Tao ancestor Dongwang Tai of the ancient demon race was injured by him and indirectly died in her hands. She was determined to get the Khanate Lotus Spirit Root, Xianming's soul-destroying spike. Her figure moved, creating countless phantoms in the endless void. A figure holding a strange and invisible poisonous stinger appeared. That was Ghost Mother's true Tao spiritual treasure. The Tao of space is quite fast. Qin Feng's expression was indifferent as he looked at the void with a strange glint in his eyes. When he came to Mount Jiang, he felt the spying eyes of a half-step golden immortal of the same level. He was secretly alert and vigilant. Ghost Mother's sneak attack was within his expectations. However, he did not expect that the other party was also a half-step golden immortal of the Khanate creation Tao. Moreover, it was a half-step golden immortal of the ghost immortal lineage. She seemed to be extremely proficient in assassination techniques. However, using the art of space, traversing to deal with me, is the wrong idea. Qin Feng's expression was indifferent. His primordial spirit revolved, and a pure white divine light appeared again. Wherever the divine light passed, layers of the void were completely disintegrated, refined, and solidified. Refining was the creation. Although they were both half-step golden immortals of the Khanate creation Tao, Qin Feng's understanding of the Tao was clearly different from Ghost Mother's. Qin Feng's divine ability was more focused on refining all things and creating all living beings. Ghost Mother, on the other hand, absorbed the creation of all things and created her own body. In an instant, the entire void was completely refined into countless yuan qi in the divine light. Inside the layers of the void, Ghost Mother's expression changed drastically. The void was completely refined, and she could no longer hide. Her spatial divine ability was almost crippled. In the next moment, an extremely sharp killing intent appeared in her mind. A trace of determination appeared in her fierce eyes. Her body turned into a stream of light and flew out of the void, escaping the refinement of the pure white divine light that was like a grand torrent. The mysterious underworld soul-destroying spike in her hand flashed with an extremely sharp chill. Her entire body sank into the poisonous spike in the fierce light. A terrifying aura that could tear through all things in the world tore through everything in the world. The pure white divine light suddenly tore the world apart, and a stream of light flew out. A tragic aura appeared. At first it was silent. However, the moment it arrived in front of Qin Feng, time seemed to accelerate. It was so shocking. Seeing that her space god art had been broken, Ninth Ghost Mother hardened her heart and unleashed a fatal attack. Her entire body turned into a wisp of light. Whether it was her Tao body or primordial spirit, they all turned into a stream of divine light and fell into the mysterious underworld soul-destroying spike. This attack was extremely terrifying. An extremely terrifying warning sign appeared in the depths of his primordial spirit. It was as if his entire primordial spirit was about to be penetrated in the next moment. Qin Feng's expression was calm. A green lotus appeared in the depths of his primordial spirit. It suddenly appeared around his body, and the 12th grade green lotus bloomed. The extremely terrifying, mysterious underworld, soul-destroying spike blasted over. The green petals shattered, but they continued to grow and multiply endlessly. The green lotus spun as if time and space were a little stagnant and obscure. The assassination failed, and Ghost Mother's secret technique was interrupted. Her figure appeared on the mysterious underworld, soul-destroying spike. Her eyes were filled with shock, but she already had the intention to retreat. As an assassin, if the attack failed, she would flee thousands of miles away. The most important thing was to protect herself. Since she had already remembered the aura of this half-step golden immortal in front of her, she could just plot against him in the future. There was no need to fight to the death here. However, it was already too late for her to retreat. At the same time, Qin Feng's counterattack began the moment the lotus blocked the fatal assassination. A vast, milky white, natal divine light flew out from his body. The 12th rank white lotus's purifying, disintegrating divine light suddenly bombarded Ninth Ghost Mother's body. Ghost Mother's Tao body and primordial spirit were suddenly refined in the divine light. Chapter 1363. A vast, pure white divine light swept out, and Ghost Mother's body and essence spirit were refined by the domineering divine light, turning into pure chaos energy that returned to the world. The power of the creation divine light was unleashed for the first time. Refine everything and return to the origin. Even a half-step golden immortal couldn't resist the divine light's power of returning to the origin, turning all things into chaos and chaos into creation. At the place where Ninth Ghost Mother's body exploded, Qin Feng's expression changed slightly. A black stream of light flew out of Ninth Ghost Mother's body like a shooting star. The black streak of light seemed to have a mind of its own as it flew out of Ghost Mother's body and turned into a black streak of light that disappeared into the void, fleeing in the blink of an eye. A treasure. Qin Feng's eyes lit up and he laughed loudly. Where do you think you're going? Qin Feng formed a seal with both hands and punched out, shattering the void around him. A pitch-black book surrounded by the aura of the netherworld appeared in the space-time gap. Qin Feng instantly grabbed it. A mysterious aura flowed from the book, causing Qin Feng to be slightly surprised. He swept his gaze over it. The 5 ancient primeval seals of the mysterious underworld Tao validation chapter appeared. Flipping through the pages, Qin Feng paused for a moment as he looked at the ancient seals recorded on the pages of an unknown material. Then his eyes lit up. Tao Ancestor Mysterious Underworld's Legacy Book. Apart from the most important mysterious underworld true inheritance, there were also various mysterious underworld treasures and cultivation methods for various mysterious underworld abilities. Each of the extremely powerful mysterious underworld treasures and mysterious underworld abilities possessed unimaginable power. They were the supreme abilities that Tao Ancestor Mysterious Underworld had relied on to dominate an area. What interested Qin Feng the most was the mysterious underworld Tao validation chapter. This cultivation method directly connected to death, life and death, mysterious underworld, creation, and several other postnatal Taos and even connate Taos. It was a supreme, true inheritance. Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a strange light as he trembled violently. But moments later, he calmed down. If he had a true legacy that led directly to the connate creation Grand Tao before he became a Tao Lord, it would have saved him a great deal of time. But now it was too late. After entering the third step of the half-step gold immortal realm, such a true legacy was of limited use to him. His foundation had already taken shape, perfect and flawless. However, a portion of the innate creation Tao's divine arts and mystic arts could be used as a reference. Qin Feng needed to deduce a supreme divine ability that was most suitable for him, and he could rely on that in turn. Qin Feng casually sent the mystic underworld Tao validation scripture into the creator's space for it to analyze. Then, he scanned the area and saw that there was a strange divine weapon that had fallen. Mysterious underworld soul-destroying spike. Seeing that you've passed the Dark Nether Tao validation chapter, Qin Feng already had an idea of the origins of this item. This item required the bone spurs of 9 types of innate divine beasts to be found and refined with Xuanming's secret technique. It could only be formed after thousands of years. This treasure was extremely vicious. Every time it killed someone, it would absorb that person's essence, qi, and even their bones to refine them. The more experts that died under the Dark Nether Spirit destroying spike, the stronger this treasure would be. It could be said to be another extreme, killing treasure of the innate creation Tao. Although this treasure was precious, it contained the aura of the 9th Ghost Mother's brand. To Qin Feng, it was of little value. However, he could pass it down to his disciples or subordinates in the future. This was a life-saving and killing treasure. He scanned the surrounding Rui nunnery and true immortal Rui, who was still unconscious. As he absorbed the legacy of the 12th grade Green Lotus of Creation, the Mother-Child River and Rui Nunnery Spring would gradually lose their original use. One could foresee that Xiliang's Womanland would gradually disappear as well. When Qin Feng returned to the post house, Monk and Old Pig's bellies had already grown to their limits. They looked like they were 7 to 8 months old and were about to give birth. "Kid, you're finally back. If you were any later, we would have a few more nephews." Monkey hurriedly welcomed him, gloating over his misfortune. "By the way, did you get the water from the Rui Nunnery Spring?" Qin Feng nodded slightly. He walked into the room and saw Monk and Old Pig crying out on the bed while holding their bellies. "Damn monkey, horse protector one, you're only afraid of chaos." Old Pig clearly heard Monkey's words and cursed loudly. Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a smile. "Junior brother, come and help me. I'm really about to give birth." On the bed, Tang Sanzang struggled to prop himself up and called out to Qin Feng when he saw him. The pitiful monk had been an eminent monk for 10 lifetimes, but had yet to give birth to a child. "There's still me, Old Pig. Junior Marshal Uncle, you have to hurry. He's about to give birth." Beside him, Old Pig propped up his big belly. Monk with a long mouth and big ears was also anxious. He hurriedly got up and was drenched in sweat. He was quite frightened. The water of the Mother-Child River was strange. The birth chi was abnormally strong. Even with Old Pig's full strength as a half-step golden immortal, he could not remove it completely. They were continuously absorbing the vitality of the two people to grow. Unless the child was born, forcibly refining it would damage a part of the foundation. A great loss of vitality. This was a great harm. Whether it was the birth or the refinement, the two of them would definitely damage a part of their foundation. The chances of the two half-step golden immortals reaching the Tao integration stage would decrease. Their only hope was to use the spring of miscarriage to remove the birth chi. Qin Feng's expression did not change. A milky white divine light flew out from his body and entered the monk's and Old Pig's bodies under the surprised gazes of the monkey and Lao Sha. In the monkey's and Lao Sha's divine senses, they could sense that the birth chi in the womb was instantly dissolved and turned into a part of pure vitality, returning to the mother's body. Old Pig flipped over and got up from the bed. He first sensed that the extremely stubborn birth chi in his body was removed. Moreover, the vitality that the fetus had lost from absorbing the mother's body was completely replenished. On the other side, Tang Sanzang's big belly had also completely disappeared. Wonderful, wonderful. The two of them were overjoyed. After the joy, The monk and old pig revealed a trace of a new lease of life. If they really gave birth here, even if they reached the spiritual mountain in the future, they would not be able to wash away the shame of giving birth to a child. What a mysterious art of creation. With just a turn of the hand, it could turn the universe around. On the other hand, the monkey and Lao Sha looked at each other and were secretly shocked. The monkey boasted that if it was only to dissolve the birth chi in the monk and old pig's womb, he could also do it. Recently, he had refined the true samadhi fire again. With the unparalleled power of the true samadhi fire, it could burn all things and easily refine the birth chi. However, this would definitely hurt the vitality of the two people and even their primordial spirits. Qin Feng's move was like the spring wind and rain. It was a natural creation. Not only did it not hurt the vitality of the two people, after refining the birth chi, it returned to its origin and returned to the mother's body. Instead, it increased their cultivation by a lot. In terms of destructive power, perhaps they were far inferior to him. However, in terms of art of creation, he was far inferior to Qin Feng. After removing the birth chi, the master and the disciples were relieved. The group immediately set off for the palace of the Shi Liang female kingdom. They changed their official documents and set off again. However, after the monk and the rest entered the palace, there were more twists and turns. The queen of Shiliang had unexpectedly fallen in love with him. Moreover, what made Qin Feng unprepared was that the queen of Shiliang did not fancy Tang Sanzang, but Qin Feng. Chapter 1364. In the imperial garden of the palace, the night was cool like water. Within the thicket of flowers, Qin Feng was clad in a black robe. His figure was tall and slender, giving off no sense of existence. But if one saw his handsome face, especially those eyes that were as deep as an ancient well that had existed for billions of years, he would definitely be unforgettable. In the imperial garden, thousands of flowers were in full bloom. Although it was already nighttime, the palace lanterns were lit up, and it was as bright as day. Many maids were shuttling back and forth. Many of them glanced at the black-robed figure in the pavilion. Their faces were red, and their hearts were racing. They were uneasy. Qin Feng raised his eyes and looked at the countless palaces that seemed to be trapped in the sea of beautiful palace lanterns. He sighed. Who would have thought that the queen of Shiliang would fancy him? However, he was indeed more charming than Tang Sanzang, no matter if it was his appearance, speech, or cultivation base. Womanland originally had a shortage of men. A charming and handsome man like Qin Feng was indeed popular among the people. As for the empress, Qin Feng's expression was complicated. Although his Taoist heart was perfect, he was not a clay sculpture and would not be moved. Especially that woman was not only beautiful, but also had high position. She was even willing to give up the glory and wealth of a country to follow you. Such deep love, which man could reject it? The night is cool. Mister, you're sitting here alone with a worried look. You don't look particularly happy. Did I neglect you? Suddenly, a delicate voice was heard. Qin Feng did not need to turn around to see the queen of Shiliang walking over from the imperial garden with a group of maids surrounding her. The queen's eyebrows were like green feathers, and her skin was like mutton fat. Her face was lined with peach blossom petals, and her hair was piled with golden phoenix silk. Her eyes were clear and enchanting. Her figure was like the spring bamboo shoots. The red silk floated in the air, and her high hairpin was shining. It was true that the beauty of Zhao Jun was not as good as the queen. Her slender waist showed off a golden ornament. She moved her jade-like limbs lightly. She was as graceful as Chang Yi in the moon, a fairy from the 9 heavens. The palace dress was noble and elegant. It was as if the queen of heaven had descended to the Jasper Lake. Even the legendary Taiyin fairy Chang Yi, who was known as the #1 beauty in the heavenly court, could not compare to her. Even if Qin Feng's Tao heart was flawless and cold like the bright moon, he still trembled violently. Sighing softly, Qin Feng stood up and faced the beautiful queen who had already arrived in front of him. He looked straight into her beautiful eyes that were as gentle as water. "Your Majesty, Why do you have to do this? I'm just an ordinary monk. How am I worthy of Her Majesty's love? A helpless expression appeared on Qin Feng's face. The journey to the west to heaven was not a child's play. One could not be tempted. Once one was tempted, one would definitely be taken advantage of by the five decay of celestial beings. Even someone as powerful as Qin Feng would not have a good ending. This path was simply too dangerous. Qin Feng tried his best to avoid anything that could increase the risk of the journey. Mister, is the Western Pure Land really comparable to my Shiliang Womanland? The queen's eyes were filled with resentment. Seeing that Qin Feng's expression did not change, she approached Qin Feng with a gentle voice. She placed her beautiful head on Qin Feng's back and wrapped her hands around Qin Feng's waist. As a queen, I've enjoyed great wealth. However, I've never enjoyed the joy of the mortal world. Mister, you're here today. It's a blessing from the heavens. When you ascend the throne in the future, I'll be the queen and we'll be together forever. Isn't this much better than the cold paradise? He felt the softness that was close to his body. I've worried too much about love, but I'm afraid I'll fall in love. There's no such thing as a perfect way to live up to both Buddha and you. He sighed softly. At this moment, Qin Feng's eyebrows moved and his expression changed slightly. Kid, there's something important to do. The monk is gone. The monkey's voice sounded in his ears. Qin Feng's silhouette flashed, instantly disappearing from the pavilion. Feeling the disappearance of Qin Feng's figure, the queen was stunned. She glanced at the void and seemed to see a demonic wind sweeping up a monk and disappearing into the depths of the palace. It's her? The queen's watery eyes flashed with coldness. At this moment, a mature and beautiful woman walked out from the side of the imperial garden. She was the grand tutor of Shiliang Womanland. She seemed to have seen the demonic wind sweeping past. Her expression was cold and solemn. The scorpion spirit had always been at odds with the royal family of Shiliang Womanland. They had been fighting openly and secretly for thousands of years. However, both of them could not do anything to each other. Queen, should we help the holy monk and the rest? The Grand Tutor's eyes were strange. The royal family of Womanland had always been strange. To be able to fight with the scorpion spirit for thousands of years, the royal family of Womanland would not be kind. Moreover, the territory of Womanland was so vast, and there were so many beauties. Womanland would have become a plaything in the hands of others. There's no need. That monkey, Zhu Beiji, Monk Sha, and him are all half-step golden immortals. The scorpion spirit relied on its own ability to dominate the region and claimed to be able to contend with half-step golden immortals. However, I'm afraid it will be troublesome today. When talking about him, the queen's eyebrows were slightly complicated. The Grand Tutor could feel the helplessness and complicated emotions in the queen's heart. After a moment of silence, she could not help but ask, Your Majesty, are you really going to marry him? The Grand Tutor's face showed a trace of pity. She looked at the queen. Not only was the queen's appearance far superior to the previous queens in their race, but her aptitude was also rarely seen in tens of thousands of years. In the race, she was one of the few who had a mellow bloodline that was comparable to those innate demon gods. If it was not for the divine ancestors' decree, the hidden experts in their race would definitely not allow the queen to marry. That is the divine ancestors' decree. You and I cannot go against it. We are all the divine ancestors' bloodline. It is the divine ancestors' grace to be able to live in Shiliang Womanland peacefully for generations and be the royal family of Shiliang Womanland for generations. When the queen said this, she paused slightly. Moreover, he is a half-step golden immortal in the innate Tao of creation. In terms of identity and status, he is worthy of me. The queen's voice carried a trace of a sneer. There was also an indescribable indifference. Seeing the queen's expression, the Grand Tutor suddenly stopped talking, but the regret in her heart grew stronger. If it was not for the divine ancestors' decree, the queen might be the first half-step golden immortal since the birth of the royal family of Shiliang Womanland. She might even be able to peek into the realm of Tao ancestor. Guanglu Temple. This was a place where Shiliang Womanland received foreign guests. Tang Sanzang and his group had moved here from the courier station a year ago. Although it was late at night, the place was still brightly lit. When Qin Feng appeared in the courtyard, only Lao Zhu was looking after the horses and luggage. The monkey and Lao Sha were nowhere to be seen. Obviously, they had gone to chase after the scorpion demon. Qin Feng only took a glance and followed the monkey, Lao Sha, and the others' tracks. Qin Feng was not afraid of the monk's life, but he was afraid that the monk's virginity would be eaten if he was late. Chapter 1365. In Qin Feng's impression, Pipa Cave, Poison Enemy Mountain, was the territory of the scorpion demon. When Qin Feng arrived, it was the middle of the night. Monkey and Lao Sha were loitering in front of a huge mountain. The huge mountain was tall and steep. There was a stone wall with the words Poison Enemy Mountain Pipa Cave written on it. "Kid, why are you only here now?" Upon seeing Qin Feng, Monkey, who was about to open the door, noticed Qin Feng's arrival. "Why, are you willing to part with that little queen of yours?" Monkey chuckled. Lao Sha was a taciturn person. It glanced at Qin Feng without saying a word. "That's enough. Monkey, how did the monk get captured? With your cultivation base, could it be that you can't stop that demon?" Qin Feng was a little puzzled. "Sorry, kid, it's a long story. That demon's other means are sloppy and ordinary, but she has an extremely powerful mystique. It's a poisonous needle. Even with my invincible Vajra body, I still felt unbearable pain when I touched it. I was almost killed by her." At the mention of that demon, Monkey's face was gloomy and gloomy. There was also a hint of fear. After refining the true Samadhi fire some time ago, his strength had increased greatly. His invincible Vajra body had been tempered again, and his Taoist body was at the initial stage. If not for that, he would have suffered a great loss. Is that demon really that powerful? Qin Feng's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Qin Feng knew that the scorpion demon of Poison Enemy Cave also seemed to have mastered a top-notch mystique. It was said that in the past, the scorpion fought with the Buddha for the throne. The Buddha only touched it slightly and was stung slightly. It was also very painful. "Monkey, what do you plan to do now?" "I'll use the 72 transformations to sneak in and investigate. We'll try peaceful means before resorting to force, lest the demon becomes desperate and frightens the monk." "She won't frighten the monk. That demon recognizes the monk. She only eats virgin chickens and doesn't kill people." Qin Feng's eyes flashed, but he didn't say it out loud. Tang Sanzang was an eminent monk who had lived 10 lifetimes and had a pure yang body for 10 lifetimes. He was also the reincarnation of a Buddha. To many demonesses, he was a treasure in human form. If they could seduce him and obtain his primordial yang, they would be able to steal his boundless merit. At that time, Qin Feng would be quite interested in the scorpion spirit's supreme ability. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feng said, "Monkey, how about this? I'll go down first. You stand guard outside. We'll work together. If you see that demon come out, you'll hit her with a stick." Monkey glanced at Qin Feng in astonishment. He didn't doubt Qin Feng's words. Since Qin Feng was willing to help, he was happy to be free. "All right." Qin Feng's silhouette flickered, transforming into a beam of light that entered the cavern. His silhouette transformed in the air, transforming into a gust of wind that seeped into the cavern. This divine ability was similar to the 72 transformations. However, it pointed directly at the root of creation. This was a part of the ability of the innate creation Tao body. The innate creation Tao originally had the power to create, change, and even refine all things. After comprehending a part of the innate creation Tao, he suddenly possessed this ability. This ability was even more mysterious than the monkey's 72 transformations. The monkey's 72 transformations was easily exposed to external stimuli, such as scratching an itch or other stimuli. However, his innate creation Tao body did not have such worries. His silhouette flickered, and in an instant, he was deep inside the cavern. Clouds and mist lingered, and the Cheonlan Pavilion was like a fairyland. Many mountain spirits transformed into maids, and old women shuttled back and forth. It was obvious that the demoness knew how to enjoy life. When Qin Feng transformed into clouds and mist, he happened to see Tang Sanzang locked up alone in the demoness boudoir. His silhouette flickered, and with a grab of his sleeve, a burst of space-time power appeared. Tang Sanzang's silhouette shrank visibly and fell into his palm. After rescuing Tang Sanzang, he was about to leave. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he transformed into Tang Sanzang, sitting on the spot. In just a moment, a beautiful woman walked out from the depths of the cavern. Looking at the cold-faced monk on the bed, the beautiful woman smiled and said, "Brother Yu, don't worry. Although this is not the palace of the Shiliang female kingdom, and it is not as luxurious as the palace of the Shiliang female kingdom, it is actually leisurely and carefree. I can recite Buddhist scriptures and read them. I will be your Tao companion. It will be a beautiful thing for a long time to come." Qin Feng looked at the woman. The Buddhist light in her body was sparkling, and her eyes were as clear as water. Although her aura was only at the heavenly immortal realm and was not as strong as a half-step golden immortal, she was definitely not as simple as an ordinary demon king. "Little girl, tidy up the bedroom and light the candles. I want to have sex with Brother Tang." The demoness' words were rough, and she looked rather bold and unrestrained. Qin Feng saw this and laughed in his heart. The demoness' actions were purely to scare Tang Sanzang. He could clearly see that the demoness was still a pure Yin virgin. "Well, since you have delivered yourself to my door, I don't need to be polite." After hearing the demoness' instructions, she looked at Qin Feng and said, "Brother Yu, as the saying goes, gold is not precious, but happiness is worth more. Every moment of the spring night is worth 1,000 gold. Let's not waste it." After saying that, the demoness looked at Tang Sanzang with her beautiful eyes, waiting for the monk to refuse. Unexpectedly, the monk on the bed was not a real monk. When he heard that, he immediately went with the flow. Yes, a good night is short. We can't waste it." After saying that, he stood up from the bed and hooked the waist of the young woman in pink like an old hooligan. The woman was shocked and instinctively wanted to resist. However, in an instant, she found that she had become immortal. In an instant, her clothes were taken off by the wolf-like Tang Sanzang. Beautiful breasts. The demoness instinctively hugged her breasts and screamed. Seeing this, Tang Sanzang smiled wretchedly and rubbed his hands. In an instant, he pounced forward and touched her all over. After a while, a sorrowful cry rang out, and the room was filled with the sounds of sex. From time to time, the woman's fierce and angry curses and scoldings could be heard. The next morning, the fog was hazy and the trees outside the cave were lush. Monkey and Lao Sha had been waiting at the entrance of the cave for an entire night. The two of them waited for a long time, but there was no movement. The two of them looked at the inside of Peepa Cave suspiciously. "Great Sage, what do you think Junior Master is doing inside? Why is there no movement after so long?" Lao Sha looked a little hesitant. Could it be that the demon is too powerful? Should we go in and take a look? I don't want anything bad to happen. Monkey pondered for a moment and nodded. "That's good too. That kid might have met with some big trouble. We might have to help him. There's no need." At that moment, a faint voice rang out. Suddenly, a figure appeared out of thin air. His figure was slender and as tall as a mountain. He smiled slightly and waved his sleeve. A figure rolled out from his sleeve and grew bigger inch by inch. In the blink of an eye, it turned into Tang Sanzang and rolled on the ground. Lao Sha looked at him and was delighted. It quickly went forward to help him up. Chapter 1366. Seeing that Tang Sanzang was rescued, Monkey secretly heaved a sigh of relief. However, he could not help but ask, "Kid, what did you do in there? Why did you take so long?" Qin Feng glanced at Monkey and asked, "That demoness is quite powerful. I also used a lot of time to completely subdue her. Is that so?" Monkey stared at the black-robed youth with a deep expression. His tone was full of meaning. Of course. Qin Feng stood with his hands behind his back. He smiled faintly, and his sleeves fell. He looked indescribably handsome. Monkey snorted and turned around. He did not want to pursue the matter with Qin Feng. Qin Feng glanced at the depths of Peepa Cave. After the fierce battle, that female Buddhist expert would probably be bedridden for a few days. There was a calm smile in his eyes. The fire in his heart that was ignited by the queen was completely extinguished in this battle. He could not and did not dare to be entangled with the queen. However, he was extremely happy with this free cannon. The group of people left with the monk. As for the monster in the poisonous enemy mountain Piao Cave, since Qin Feng said that it would not cause trouble, the master and disciples did not bother to meddle in other people's business. Speaking of which, the girl in pink was taken advantage of by Qin Feng and forced onto the Kong bed. At this moment, she was still lying limply on the bed. Her Dao body was limp and numb, so soft that it was difficult for her to even move. The girl bit her pink lips. There was a mirror of perfection in front of her. The scene of the master and disciples leaving was reflected in the mirror. She gritted her teeth and stared at the black-robed figure. Damn bastard! How dare he impersonate Tang Sanzang and trick my body? Thinking about the torment of the night, the girl gritted her teeth. Her body was still numb. The strongest aspect of a half-step golden immortal was the Khanate Dao body. This Dao body was as real as Dao. It was a supreme treasure body that was born from the Khanate Dao. This kind of constitution was really tyrannical and mysterious to the extreme. If some mortals took a few more glances at it and had the ability to comprehend it, they would be able to attain the Dao in one fell swoop. They could even comprehend the cultivation method and reach the heavens in a single step. She only had the body of a celestial immortal. So how could she endure that? Damn bastard, just you wait. My celestial race will definitely not let this matter rest. At this moment, her expression changed slightly. Flowing light flashed around her body. The ice-blue divine light flickered, and countless strange smells in the boudoir dispersed. She got up to dress herself. After putting on the dress, her figure was lithe and graceful, and a sacred and inviolable aura appeared. A moment later, there was a knock on the door. "Come in," she said indifferently. When the stone door was pushed open, a maid came out from outside the cave. She looked around and seemed to be slightly surprised. Then she bowed. "Saintess, the great sage has summoned you to return to the 8 divine prefecture. What happened? Wasn't the sage in seclusion to comprehend the mysteries of the golden immortal realm? Why did you suddenly come out of seclusion?" The pink-clothed woman's expression changed, and she turned around abruptly. "The saints of the 8 divisions have all come out of seclusion. I don't know the details, but I know that it seems to be related to the journey to the west to heaven." The maid lowered her head. "All the saints have come out of seclusion?" The pink-clothed woman muttered. Her clan was also one of the celestial clans. It was rumored that the celestial clans were inherited from the 3 ancient celestial Dao ancestors. They were the Dao ancestor of the heavens, the Dao ancestor of the green heaven, and the Dao ancestor of the yellow heaven. It was rumored that the 3 Dao ancestors controlled a part of the heavenly Dao's origin. The 3 Dao ancestors of the celestial clans had fallen for a long time. They had no choice but to hide in the west under the leadership of the remaining half-step golden immortal saints. Many of the clans entered the 24 heavens of Buddhism to protect the gods. Her clan had mostly entered Jixiang Heaven and became the clan of Jixiang Heaven Lord. For the journey to the west, it seems that the various celestial masters can't help but interfere with the journey to the west to heaven. As she muttered, the pink-clothed woman glanced at the Peepa Cave. A day later, she led a group of maids and flew toward the depths of the Aparagodania continent, Shiliang Female Kingdom. After rescuing the monk, the master and disciples rested for a day before they set off again. At the border of Shiliang, the queen of Shiliang personally led the civil and military officials to send them here. Tender as water, the auspicious day was like a dream. "Kid, are you really willing to part with her?" Looking at the reluctant queen behind him, The monkey looked at the black-robed youth beside him. "We will meet again if we are fated. If we are not, how can I be willing to part with her?" Qin Feng's expression was calm. At his level, the demoness in the Peepa Cave could be a prostitute. However, she would not fall in love easily and would not be easily entangled by love. Especially when the karma of the primordial world manifested, it could easily become a huge weakness in the Tao validation. "You're smart after all." The monkey turned around and did not comment. He sneered and followed the monk in front in a flash. Qin Feng was expressionless. He knew what the monkey meant. Descendant of Nuwa, haha. Qin Feng turned around and glanced at the beautiful queen who was reluctant to part with him. He turned around and didn't hesitate any longer as he followed the group with large strides. What a waste of a heavenly treasure. This junior martial uncle is just too cautious. He can actually resist such a great beauty. Old Pig's regretful voice came from the front. "Fat monk, do you think that martial uncle is as lecherous as you? Think about it. Martial uncle and the Tao ancestor are cultivating the same path. Who knows if this is a trap set by the Tao ancestor to deal with martial uncle? Old Sand, you should call me senior brother. Do you have any respect for your elders?" Qin Feng slowly smiled when he heard the commotion in front of him. His gaze swept across the empty space, and the group of people disappeared into the forest outside the borders of Xiliang Kingdom after a while. In the void, 3 beautiful women surrounded by spiritual light sensed Qin Feng's gaze. Their expressions changed slightly. The 3 figures appeared beside the queen and the grand tutor. "She seems to have discovered our tracks. Her cultivation is exquisite. I am afraid that she has entered the 3rd step of the half-step golden immortal. It is also rumored that she is proficient in some space-time magic. I am afraid that she has discovered us long ago. She might even know about our background. Are we really going to let them go? We can't disobey the queen's orders." The 3 figures communicated with each other through divine thoughts. Their expressions were gloomy. The divine ancestor had issued a decree for the first time in thousands of years. They did not do a good job. Would this leave an impression of incompetence in the eyes of the divine ancestor? This made many elders of the royal family of Womanland a little nervous. "It's okay. We have tried our best. I think the queen will not blame us." At this moment, the queen suddenly spoke. Her pair of watery eyes looked at the group of journey to the west with a complicated expression. It was as if the black-robed young man was still in front of her. That person rejected her. Although she was relieved, she could not help but feel unconvinced and disappointed. She boasted that her beauty was not inferior to Fairy Chong Yi of the Guanghan Palace. Even among the many female immortals in the untainted land, her appearance was definitely one of the best. However, this person completely ignored her. "I hope you don't die prematurely on the journey to the west." Chapter 1367. After passing Xiliang Female Kingdom, the master and disciples continued on their journey. The next half a month was smooth sailing. However, a few days ago, there were some disturbances. On the horizon, a stream of light landed at the foot of the mountain, revealing an arrogant and domineering short figure. "Great sage, you're back." At noon, at the foot of the mountain, Old Pig and Old Shah were packing their luggage. When they saw the figure, they immediately greeted him. "Why are you back?" On the other side, Monk was angry. Yesterday, they encountered a group of bandits. In the end, all of them ate Monkey's rod and had their brains splattered everywhere. Under the 5 decay of the celestial being, Monk's benevolent heart was overflowing. He could not help but say something. Monkey could not take it and left in anger. Qin Feng looked at this scene coldly. Originally, with everyone's mental state, it was impossible for such an irreconcilable conflict to occur. However, with the 5 decay of the celestial being, everyone's Tao heart was suppressed. The flaws of one side would be magnified, just like Tang Sanzang's benevolence. Monkey's anger. What does it have to do with you? Monkey did not give Monk a good look the moment he landed. Without the original golden hoop, Monkey looked even more brazen. Monk was furious. He pointed at Monkey, but could not say a word. Monkey's face was ferocious and cold. He took a few steps forward. "Monk, I gave you some leeway in the past because you were the main character of Journey to the West. However, you better stop pointing and grumbling in front of me. Otherwise, I'll beat you up every time I see you." They were both one of the Khanate 4 chaotic world monkeys. The six-eared macaque was immeasurably powerful. He knew everything that Monkey knew. Therefore, even Old Pig and Old Shah did not recognize Monkey's true identity. They only thought that Monkey had been provoked by Monk and revealed his true nature. Monk had never seen such a terrifying and domineering monkey. Instantly, his face turned pale. He was anxious and angry. Old Pig and Old Shah did not look too good. Both of them had become Monk's disciples after all. Although Monk was at the 5 decay of a celestial being and had a benevolent heart, Monkey was still brazen. But the monkey was so unbridled. Wasn't he looking down on the two of them too much? On the side, Qin Feng did not say anything, but there was a strange light in his eyes, as if he was deep in thought. Old Shah and Old Pig could not see through six-eared macaque's disguise, but Qin Feng was different. At first glance, Qin Feng noticed something. Although the six-eared macaque's disguise was quite complete, the monkey had 72 transformations, and so did the six-eared macaque. The monkey had the somersault cloud, and so did the six-eared macaque. The monkey had the Rui Jingu Bang, but the six-eared macaque was not bad either. He had the loyal soldiers from the ancient demonic tribe's treasury. Sun Wukong was a half-step golden immortal in the 3rd step of the Khanate Tao. Similarly, six-eared macaque was also a half-step golden immortal in the 3rd step of the innate Tao. On top of that, the six-eared macaque had the innate ability to hear all things and distinguish yin and yang. Even some of the Tao ancestors and Buddhist ancestors among the various heavens fiend gods might not be able to tell the difference between the real and fake monkey. However, Qin Feng was pretty close to the mark. Looks could be imitated, mystiques could be imitated, and even fate could be faked. However, one state of mind could not be imitated. The six-eared macaque and the monkey's aura were clearly different. The monkey's arrogance, brutality, and dominance were only on the surface. In truth, he was an extremely calm and cold person. His mind was sharp. The great sage, Heaven's equal, might have been able to display such brutality and arrogance 500 years ago. However, 500 years later, Sun Wukong had already subdued his inner monkey. As for the six-eared macaque's arrogance, brutality, and dominance, there was a sinister coldness to it. It was like a schemer hiding in the shadows and plotting countless schemes. At first glance, most people would not be able to tell the difference between the real and the fake. However, after a while, one would be able to tell. Qin Feng had always been wary of the six-eared macaque. He had been prepared for the day when the six-eared macaque would cause trouble for him. He was 80 to 90% sure that this monkey was an imposter. However, Qin Feng did not say anything. He did not make a fuss. Sun Wukong's 72 transformations and somersault cloud mystique were out of his reach. However, this six-eared macaque might not be able to do so. He might even be able to trick it out of him. The Disha 72 transformations contained a portion of the true meaning of creation. It was a peerless mystique of the Khanate Tao of creation. If he could learn this mystique and fuse it with a portion of his own true meaning of creation, Qin Feng might be able to create a mystique of his own. When the six-eared macaque saw that no one had exposed his identity, he was secretly delighted. He began to play the role of Sun Wukong wholeheartedly. The six-eared macaque had long coveted the monkey. He was even more envious of the monkey's fortuitous encounter. Qin Feng knew what the six-eared macaque was thinking. This kid wanted to replace Sun Wukong. However, the six-eared macaque did not know any ancient secrets. He thought that the monkey was just unlucky. He did not know that this monkey was famous for having a strong backer. Setting aside his master, the mysterious Tao ancestor. Its origins could be traced back to the primordial age, when Yuwa mended the heavens. In the primordial age, water and fire fought. The two post-celestial Tao ancestors fought fiercely. Gong Gong slammed into Zhou Mountain, causing it to break. A hole appeared in the sky, and the heavenly river hung upside down, drowning billions of lives. Goddess Niwa mended the heavens. She refined 36,000 five-colored godstones to fill the hole in the heavenly river. However, in the end, there were only 4 left. These 4 godstones had their own origins. They all contained extraordinary destinies. One of the 5-colored godstones fell into the ancestral vein of Mount Huagua in Ao Lai country of the EC. It became a stubborn stone that contained the spiritual stone monkey, Sun Wukong. One could say that the monkey was indirectly related to Tao ancestor Empress Niwa. This was not something that the 6-eared macaque could replace. The 6-eared macaque wanted to swallow the monkey and replace him on the journey to the west. To Qin Feng, it was simply courting death. However, Qin Feng guessed wrong. The 6-eared macaque was not here to replace the monkey. It was late at night. After a busy day, their muscles were tired. Under the light of the fire, they slept in the open air in a valley. The argument during the day still affected them. Because of the monkey's attitude towards Tang Sanzang, Old Pig and Old Sand also felt a little estranged from Monkey. The two of them slept beside the green stone. At the same time, they were indirectly protecting the monk. On the other side, Qin Feng was sitting cross-legged on a mountain rock that was relatively high. Along the way, Qin Feng had long been used to using meditation as a substitute for sleep. Although the 5 decay of the heavenly man suppressed part of his Tao body and primordial spirit, he still looked very tired. On the other side, the monkey sat alone. He occasionally looked up and glanced at the monk, Old Pig, Old Sand, and even Qin Feng. His eyes flashed with a strange light. As night fell, the monkey looked more and more strange. He looked unusually restless. This was the first time he had entered the journey to the west. He was very unfamiliar with the suppression of the 5 decay of the heavenly man exciting. His gaze lingered on Qin Feng, Old Pig, Old Sand, and the monk. This gaze was faint, without the slightest hint of killing intent or strangeness. If it were an ordinary person who was suppressed by the 5 decay of the heavenly man, they would have ignored it. However, Qin Feng had been secretly watching the 6-eared macaque. He could clearly feel the strangeness of this gaze. A chill ran deep in his primordial spirit. This monkey wants to kill us. Qin Feng felt a chill in his heart. He wants to ambush us. This thought made Qin Feng's heart beat violently. The 6-eared macaque was unusually strong. It was comparable to the monkey. If it ambushed him, he would not be afraid. However, Tang Sanzang, Old Pig, and Old Sam would probably. Chapter 1368. Qin Feng opened his eyes when he saw 6-eared macaque getting closer to Tang Sanzang and the rest. Old Pig and Lao Sha were not on guard. Monkey can't sleep. Hearing Qin Feng's voice, Old Pig and Old Sand subconsciously opened their eyes and looked at Qin Feng, who was on the mountain rock. 6-eared macaque's face fell. The killing intent in his heart was scattered by this voice. He raised his head and coldly glanced at Qin Feng. What is it? 6-eared macaque tried to suppress its murderous intent, but its tone was a little impatient. In a flash, Chun Xiaobei appeared beside 6-eared macaque. Let's talk somewhere else. Having said that, Qin Feng ignored 6-eared macaque and left the valley. Moments later, he was standing in front of another cliff. In front of him was a cliff. Under the night sky, it looked like a bottomless abyss. It was a terrifying sight. The night breeze was cool, and the moon hung high in the sky. The moonlight was as clear as water. Above the cliff, 2 figures were elongated, one in front and one behind. What do you want? 6-eared macaque stared at Qin Feng, frowning. It was on high alert. In terms of apprehension, 6-eared macaque feared this black-clad half-step gold immortal the most. He roughly knew where Old Pig and Lao Sha came from, but he could not see through this half-step golden immortal in black. Like 6-eared macaque, this man was one of the only 2/3 step half-step golden immortals in the group. All right, monkey, stop pretending. Qin Feng looked at six-eared macaque, whose expression had changed. Qin Feng's lips curled into a smile. He spoke again. What about the thing you promised me earlier? Have you thought about it? The six-eared macaque was prepared to be exposed and fight. But when he heard that, the energy that had been gathering around him dissipated. So I didn't expose myself. The six-eared macaque calmed down and fell in a deep thought. But this person seems to have some kind of secret with that stupid monkey. Six-eared macaque thought to itself. What? Are you going back on your word? On the other side, Qin Feng's brows were indeed furrowed. A chill condensed under his thin clothes. Earlier, did you promise that so long as I help you think of a way to attain perfection in the third step of the innate grand Tao of energy, you would pass down the 72 earthly transformations that contain the innate grand Tao of creation to me? Qin Feng's lips curled with a hint of doubt. What? The six-eared macaque was stunned. Then its eyes lit up, breaking through to the third step of the innate great Tao of strength. This kid in front of him had such a great opportunity in his hands. However, this was a little inconceivable. At the end of the day, the six-eared macaque did not understand the secret deal between Qin Feng and the monkey. Although his natal grand mystique was said to be good at hearing, able to discern reason, and be able to see through everything, it was not omnipotent. The six-eared macaque chose its words carefully, trying to find out what this so-called opportunity was. On the other side, Qin Feng seemed to be very understanding. Fine, monk. Since you are still unwilling to part with the 72 earthly transformations and are not willing to exchange for the mark of Genesis, then you should think about it for a few more days. Qin Feng smiled coldly, turned around, and was about to leave. 1, 2, 3, 4. Qin Feng counted in his heart and took a few steps. Wait. Just as he expected, the six-eared macaque called out to him. The six-eared macaque's greed had been completely ignited. What was the mark of heaven opening? It was the mark of the first batch of great gods born in the untainted land. It was the identification of the first batch of great gods and contained the infinite mysteries of the heavenly king Yuanshi Panga's creation. Regardless of which cultivator obtained the heaven-opening brand, they would obtain great benefits. The six-eared macaque, like the monkey, was one of the 4 spiritual monkeys. However, it was still far from the first batch of great gods. How could he not covet it? What? Have you thought it through? Qin Feng turned around, his eyes cold. Or have you thought of something else? His eyes flashed coldly. The aura of a third step, half-step, golden immortal was faintly discernible. A pure white divine light flashed, as if it could melt the endless chaos. The six-eared macaque's face froze. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes, but he forced it down. He was not afraid of this third step, half-step, golden immortal in a fight. However, if he alerted the others, or the real Sun Wukong, he would lose everything. The only thing I could do now is to get the mark of Genesis before he makes the deal with Sun Wukong. The six-eared macaque's heart was burning with passion, but he still had doubts. A faint smile appeared on his face. Kid, don't misunderstand. With our relationship, even if I can't do it, I will not force you. But then he changed the topic. However, since you say that you have the splitting heaven seal in your hands, why should I, old son, believe you? What if you have bad intentions and want to deceive me? Won't I lose the 72 earthly fiend transformations for nothing? Qin Feng's expression relaxed as he said calmly, That's easy. He moved his hand, and a supreme brilliance appeared in his palm. Looking at the brilliance, Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a strange light. Others did not have the mark of Genesis, but Qin Feng had it. Moreover, it wasn't just one, but 2. One belonged to the primordial astral ancestor in the Star River realm, and the other belonged to the Emperor of the Dead in the Divine Tree realm in the primordial land. His 2 avatars were respectively the heavenly Tao saints of a realm, and they were one with the Tao. Their identities were the noblest existences in the heaven realm, and they controlled the heavenly Tao. Naturally, they could condense the mark of Genesis scattered in the world. Qin Feng took out the mark of Genesis from the Divine Tree realm in the primordial land. The mark of Genesis began to change, and a formless aura spread out. Six-eared macaque's expression changed slightly. In the next moment, his divine consciousness seemed to have followed the formless aura into the depths of the chaotic void. The terrifying chaotic aura was extremely dense here, and it was like a surging chaotic current. Just as he was observing his surroundings, after an unknown amount of time, there was a violent tremor in the chaotic void. A huge figure appeared before Six-eared macaque's eyes. It was a strange figure, tens of thousands of feet tall. He held a heaven-splitting divine sword in his hand, and he was immensely majestic. Even though it was just a little bit of his power, Six-eared macaque felt his flawless Tao heart tremble violently, and his primordial spirit felt like it would shatter at any time. A creator? Six-eared macaque was shocked and excited. This was not the great god Pangu that he had imagined. This was a completely foreign creator, but he could imagine that this was an unimaginable existence. The huge figure in the chaotic void did not care about Six-eared macaque. He held his long sword in front of him, and with a roar, he slashed out viciously, and the chaotic void was split open. Chapter 1369. However, just as the Six-eared macaque was at the peak of his enlightenment, he was suddenly ejected from the heaven-splitting brand. In an instant, an overwhelming anger surged in his heart. However, when he raised his head and saw Qin Feng's faint smile, he forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart. Isn't this the heaven-splitting brand of the great god Pangu? The Six-eared macaque stared coldly at Qin Feng. You're right. This is not the heaven-splitting brand of the great god Pangu, but a part of the heaven-splitting brand of the other realm, Fiend Celestial. Qin Feng smiled faintly. But so what? The great Tao leads to the same destination. This heaven-splitting brand is no less valuable. The Six-eared macaque's face darkened. Qin Feng was right. Even though it was the heaven-splitting brand of the other realm, Fiend Celestial, it was also irreplaceable to him. When a half-step golden immortal reached the third step, he was no longer restricted to same-level battles. A golden immortal's Tao preaching or training in the mortal world was not very useful. However, this heaven-splitting brand was not ordinary. The heaven-splitting brand contained the earliest mysteries of the great Tao. It had an irreplaceable effect on the evolution of the great Tao, as well as the purification and completion of the origin. At the same time, with this as the foundation, he could verify his own great Tao. It was indescribably beneficial to the fourth step of the great Tao. So, what do you think? Qin Feng's expression was calm. It was indeed a loss for him to exchange a complete heaven-splitting brand for a divine ability inheritance that was only slightly more precious. However, if it was really a complete heaven-splitting brand, he was not stupid and would not exchange it. The main reason was that this heaven-splitting brand was incomplete. Secondly, through the heaven-splitting brand of the galaxy world, he discovered that the heaven-splitting brand of the primordial land's divine tree world was actually a trap. He did not notice it before, but later he did. The heaven-splitting brand of the divine tree world contained traces of the great Tao imprint of the great Eastern Wilderness Emperor. If he used this as the foundation to comprehend the great Tao, he would not be comprehending the great Tao of heaven and earth, but the great Eastern Wilderness Emperor's Tao. That was a fake Tao. Although he had some achievements, he would probably become a vassal or puppet of the great Eastern Wilderness Emperor in the future. This was a trap. However, this trap was quite real. If not for the Tao ancestor, ordinary half-step golden immortals would not be able to see through it. Clearly, the Six-eared macaque was not someone who knew what was good for him. All right. After a slight hesitation, he gritted his teeth and immediately made a copy of the general outline of the 72 earthly fiend transformations. He took it out and turned it into a ball of light. Seeing the ball of light floating in the air, Qin Feng nodded. He immediately made a copy of the Divine Tree World's heaven-opening brand and sent it over as well. The two of them each received the light orbs from the other. After grabbing the ball of light, the two of them retreated 300 meters away. Their auras surged. Obviously, they were afraid of a sneak attack from the other party. Qin Feng's divine sense entered the ball of light, and a hint of joy flashed across his face. He had obtained all the earthly fiend 72 transformations. Spirit channeling, spirit expelling, mountain carrying, forbidden water, borrowing wind, setting fog, setting clear sky, praying for rain, sitting on fire, entering water, covering sun, riding wind, boiling stone, spitting flame, swallowing knife, flaring sky, divine travel, treading water, staff release clone, invisibility, continuing head, fixing body, slaying demon, inviting immortals, chasing soul, absorbing soul, summoning cloud, fetching moon, transport, marrying dream, Li, parting. Staff, breaking current, warding disaster, resolving disaster, yellow and white, swordsmanship, shooting cover, earth element, number of stars, setting formation, false form, spray transformation, finger transformation, corpse disintegration, shifting scene, beckoning, gathering beasts, regulating birds, restricting qi, great strength, penetrating stone, xingguang, barrier clothing, daoyin, eating, opening wall, leaping rock, budding head, logging book, drinking water, sleeping snow, violet. Sun, known pill, talisman water, medicine, knowing time, knowing place, fasting, and praying. The cultivation of each divine ability was contained within the secret technique. However, Qin Feng could tell that the six-eared macaque was not as honest as he thought. There might be some misunderstandings in the general principles. If he were to cultivate recklessly, his primordial spirit would be damaged, and his essence, qi, and vitality would be destroyed. Qin Feng chuckled coldly in his heart. That was not a big deal. As long as the general principles were correct, he could use the connate creation great path to correct them. Swoosh! There was a gust of wind. Qin Feng looked up and saw that the six-eared macaque had already left. He could not wait to find a place to study the mark of splitting heavens. I hope you won't be tricked to death by the Eastern Wilderness Emperor. Qin Feng chuckled coldly. The next day, the monkey rushed back and bumped into the six-eared macaque who was impersonating him. Like lightning striking fire, the two monkeys started fighting before they could even say a word. The four spiritual monkeys all had the same origin. They did not want to meet. Once they met, there was only one outcome. Either you die, or I live. No matter which of them devoured the other, their origin would be replenished, and their origin would be strengthened. This conflict was irreconcilable. The two of them fought from the ground to the sky until they disappeared into the horizon. Old Pig, Lao Sha, and the monk were dumbfounded. Qin Feng looked on coldly and did not get involved. The six-eared macaque would not be able to defeat the monkey. He would definitely die. There was nothing to look forward to. In the valley, Old Pig had already followed them to watch the show. Lao Sha and Qin Feng were guarding the monk. Qin Feng sat cross-legged on the side, thinking about the 12 metamorphoses he got from the six-eared macaque. All kinds of transformations flashed in his mind, turning into sparkling flames of wisdom. Those sparkling thoughts seemed to have substance. It was as if a single thought could sink mountains and rivers and shatter stars. Above his head, the auspicious cloud of his primordial spirit revolved slowly. A 12th grade green lotus swayed gracefully in the auspicious cloud. It was as if all the vitality in the void had gathered on the green lotus, causing one's mind to become pure. Monk Sha glanced at it and felt as if the innate great Tao of creation had descended. A supreme aura of the great Tao of creation penetrated deep into his primordial spirit. His primordial spirit seemed to have absorbed countless sweet dew spring water. All his fatigue was dispelled. His primordial spirit could not help but indulge in it. Then, countless mysteries of creation were born from his primordial spirit. However, he was horrified. He quickly lowered his head as if he was avoiding a snake or a scorpion, forgetting the enlightenment in his mind. He was a half-step golden immortal who cultivated the great Tao of poison. If he was confused by the innate great Tao of creation, it would be even more difficult for him to reach the third step of the great Tao of poison. As the changes in the 72 metamorphoses were analyzed, comprehended, and integrated into the auspicious cloud, Qin Feng's 12th grade spirit C, white lotus auspicious cloud, rotated more smoothly in some obscure places. It seemed to be closer to the great Tao, and the aura of the innate great Tao of creation became stronger. Inside his body, the sparkling and translucent magic power of creation seemed to be baptized by the great Tao. Inch by inch, extremely subtle white light appeared on his skin. Many of the faint light dust around him were washed out of the countless acupuncture points all over his body like impurities. An extremely mysterious, innate Tao of creation diagram appeared around him. It was as if his cultivation had increased by a lot. His newly formed innate Tao of creation diagram was transforming into Deshang's innate Tao of creation diagram at every moment. As his aura grew, all kinds of strange phenomena were born. Brilliance was exposed. Golden lotuses bloomed from the ground. Heavenly flowers fell from the sky. Sounds of Sanskrit chanting appeared from the void. The brilliant white Buddha light seemed to have turned the thousands of miles of land into a Buddhist kingdom of creation. Chapter 1370. Each of the earthly fiend 72 transformations was actually connected to a divine beast transformation. For every transformation, low-level cultivators would have to hunt for the blood essence of divine beasts in the world. Only by refining and tempering the acupoints and comprehending the shards of the great Tao of heaven and earth in the blood essence could one successfully cultivate it. However, as a half-step golden immortal of the creation great Tao, Qin Feng did not need to go through so much trouble. All he needed to do was comprehend creation, circulate the great Tao, and directly absorb the Tao runes of the great Tao to cultivate it. He didn't need to rely on the divine beast's blood essence. At the side, Lao Sha and Tyrant were envious. Qin Feng's strength had obviously improved yet again. He estimated that Qin Feng's born Taoism aptitude to Shang was close at hand. The innate Tao aptitude was a Tao aptitude that was born after a heavenly immortal advance to a half-step golden immortal and was tempered by the Tao of heaven and earth. This was the boundary between half-step golden immortals and heavenly immortals. The born Taoism aptitude allowed him to control a portion of the great Tao, and he could easily kill an ordinary heaven immortal with a flick of his finger. However, there were different levels of born Taoism aptitude as well. It was divided into initial stage, Deshang stage, and perfection stage. The difference between each level of born Taoism aptitude was like night and day. Half-step gold immortals who had just broken through to the heaven immortal realm would be at the initial stage of the Khanate Tao body. In order to achieve initial success in the born Taoism aptitude, one would need to spend countless years comprehending the Great Path and be tempered by the Great Path before they could achieve initial success. Generally speaking, small success could be achieved through painstaking effort, which was relatively easy. However, Deshang was extremely difficult. Only the existence of the fourth step, half-step, golden immortal outer Tao derivation could make the Khanate Tao aptitude Deshang, because they had survived the outer Tao derivation of the void universe. It was precisely because of this that a half-step golden immortal at the fourth step was far stronger than a half-step golden immortal at the third step. As for the perfect Khanate Tao aptitude, only immortal golden immortals at the Tao fusing realm had the chance to attain it. It was an inconceivable realm that many half-step golden immortals had to look up to. A moment later, Lao Sha saw Qin Feng open his eyes, and the strange phenomena around him disappeared. Qin Feng's eyes flickered with joy. The 72 earthly fiend transformations was indeed extremely beneficial to him. To a large extent, it was able to supplement a portion of the Tao rhythm of the innate fortune. But that was not the biggest gain of all. The 15 water-type great sacred arts in his body that had evolved into creation sacred arts gradually merged after receiving a portion of the creation grand Tao from the 72 transformations. A supreme divine ability under the innate great Tao of creation began to take shape. Qin Feng called this kind of supreme divine ability that had yet to appear in the world good fortune mediation. If it went smoothly, it could evolve heaven and earth and create all living things. It could reverse life and death and refine heaven and earth. Its power was truly inconceivable and terrifying to the extreme. However, the power of the supreme martial art was simply too overwhelming. Even with the 72 transformations of the Disha and the 2 heaven-splitting seals that Qin Feng had comprehended, it was still in its embryonic form. However, it was obvious that once it was completely born, it would definitely erupt with might that would cause even an eternal golden immortal to look askance. Maybe I should try to get in touch with the secret of the Heavenly Dipper 36 transformations. Let's see if we can obtain the Heavenly Spirit 36 transformations. As he thought to himself, Qin Feng's eyes flickered with a strange light as he familiarized himself with the profoundness of that supreme divine ability. The Heavenly Spirit 36 transformations was the same as the 72 Disha transformations. They were both great divine abilities of the innate great Tao of creation. Cultivating the Dashang would also allow one to transform in thousands of forms. Although the two were creation's sacred arts, they each had their own strengths. However, the Heavenly Spirit 36 transformations was a supreme secret technique of the Heavenly Courts. It was also ranked very high on the Heavenly Court's merit roll and required countless Heavenly Court's merit points to exchange for it. It was difficult to exchange for it unless one was an immortal of the Heavenly Courts. Old Pig was once the Heavenly Court's Navy Marshal of the Heavenly River and controlled 100,000 Heavenly River Navy soldiers. However, he had only exchanged for a few transformations of the Heavenly Spirit 36 transformations. Qin Feng had once asked Old Pig to exchange for this secret technique. However, Old Pig rejected him and said that when they obtained the secret technique, they had once sworn a great Tao oath that they would not spread it to outsiders. If he wanted to obtain this secret technique, he would probably have to find the 6 royals of the Heavenly Courts and the 6 celestial emperors to have a chance of exchanging for it. It would be extremely difficult to obtain the complete secret technique of the Heavenly Spirit 36 transformations. Suddenly, Qin Feng's expression changed. At the same time, Lao Sha, who was resting at the side, raised its head and looked up. The sound of violent wind whistling could be heard. 2 figures landed on the ground amidst the wind. It was like a shooting star, but it landed gently. Monkey and Old Pig appeared on the colonel. Seeing Monkey, Lao Sha's expression changed slightly and stood in front of Tyrant. Looks like 6-eared macaque died in the hands of Monkey. Looking at the falling Monkey, Qin Mao smiled slightly. It was a familiar aura, that arrogance and ferocity that came from his bones. Clearly, this was the real Sun Wukong. Everyone, I'm back. Monkey was slightly excited. His ferocious eyes trembled uncontrollably. It's good that you're back. Tyrant could not help but stand up. Along the way, they had gone through life and death together. Unknowingly, they had formed a deep bond with each other. Tyrant, I shouldn't have lost my temper at you this time. Monkey took a few steps forward. However, he quickly controlled his emotions. After all, he was still that arrogant monkey. But even so, with that one sentence, the monk's grudge against the monkey was completely removed. At the side, Qin Feng smiled faintly when he saw this scene. It was obvious that Monkey's state of mind had improved after the battle with 6-eared macaque. Not only had his state of mind improved, but his aura had also increased tremendously. His innate Tao body was also close to Dashang's. After devouring 6-eared macaque, his chances of achieving Tao had increased by at least 5%. Qin Feng thought to himself, this time, it was hard to say who would achieve Tao unification first between him and Monkey. After killing 6-eared macaque, the grudges between them were buried. They rested for a while and prepared to spend another night on the colonel. They were ready to continue their journey. That night, beside the bonfire, the monkey solemnly gathered everyone together. Brothers, this time, I, old son, have a request. I hope that you will lend me a hand this time. The bonfire burned brightly. Monkey's expression was extremely serious as he looked at the crowd and said in a low voice, this matter is also related to a huge calamity on our journey to the west. Great Sage, why are you so serious? Could it be that six-eared macaque is still alive? Seeing how serious Monkey was, Lao Sha could not help but ask. It was not just him. Tyrant, Qin Feng, and Old Pig also looked at Monkey. This was the first time they had seen Monkey so serious. It was also the first time he was so polite to them. It's not six-eared macaque. That six-eared macaque has been completely killed by me. I've refined it to death. He paused for a moment, then said word by word. I'm talking about the 800-li flaming mountain ahead. His eyes flickered with ferocity and sharpness as he looked around at the crowd. I believe that all of you should know the dangers of the 800-li flaming mountain. Everyone's expression changed. The 800-li flaming mountain was located at the border between Nanjan Section continent and Aparagodania continent. It was a famous danger zone. It blocked the path to the west. There were countless flames and extremely high temperatures. There were also spirits born from the flames. The crowd was not afraid of the spirits. They were afraid of the cave master of Banana Cave in the depths of the flaming mountain. That was the abode of the great sage who pacifies heaven, the leader of the 7 great sages. They had previously made Red Boy, the great sage who pacifies heaven, disappear without a trace. It was impossible that the great sage who pacifies heaven did not notice. He would not let them off easily. Chapter 1371. Everyone could feel it. In fact, after passing the Shiliang female kingdom, the further west they went, the hotter the weather became. The blazing mountain of flames was a famous training ground in the cultivation world. How could they not know of the blazing mountain of flames? With Tripitaka's mortal body, he would definitely not be able to pass through that extremely hot place. Of course, the most dangerous one was still the great sage who pacifies heaven, the Bull Demon King. The blazing mountain of flames was close to the Banana Cave of the Emerald Cloud Mountain. It was the lair of the Bull Demon King, the great sage who pacifies heaven, and there were countless demon experts there. Monkey, what do you mean? Qin Feng looked at the monkey and vaguely guessed some of the monkey's thoughts. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. Let's think of a way to kill that old bull. At the very least, we have to suppress him. The monkey's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness that was as sharp as a blade. Qin Feng's eyes flickered. There was obviously some deep entanglement between the monkey and the Bull Demon King. This could be seen from a monkey's attitude towards Red Boy. We can capture and kill that old bull. He has already formed a huge enmity with us. Naturally, we can't let him live. Old Pig was also a decisive person. He was quite supportive of the monkey's suggestion. However, even if we kill that old bull, Master still has to pass through the blazing mountain of flames. I'm afraid it won't be easy to pass through the blazing mountain of flames. That's not a problem. Princess Iron Fan in the Cloud Cave of the Jile Mountain has a Khanate Dharma treasure called the Banana Fan. With the Banana Fan, the flames of the blazing mountain of flames will not be a problem. After saying that, the monkey paused for a moment. Then, he smiled, and extreme confidence appeared on his face. Moreover, without that old bull causing trouble, the blazing mountain of flames will not be a problem for Old Sun even without the Banana Fan. Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sha remained silent. The monkey had mastered the supreme, true Samadhi fire. A mere blazing mountain of flames would not be a problem for him. Since that's the case, let's make a move on the Bull Demon King in advance and remove this nail that is blocking the journey to the west. Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sha all nodded one by one. The group made a decision. After hiding the monk the next day, they headed straight for the blazing mountain of flames. Far away, the 800-mile-long fiery mountain was right in front of everyone's eyes. Raging flames spurted out from the ground, and an extremely dense fiery power came right at their faces. Even though they were thousands of miles up in the sky, the heat was still unbearable. Even a few half-step gold immortals found the temperature in the flaming mountain unbearable. Ordinary immortals would have their primordial divinities and Taoist bodies incinerated by the true Samadhi fire before they could even get close. The area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles had been damaged by the fire poison in the Mountain of Flames. Yellow sand was everywhere, and the earth had turned into sand. The aura of the true Samadhi fire. Qin Feng's expression changed. A fiery red mountain range. They could see that there were many flame spirits emerging from the flames at the edge of the mountain range. They had transformed into some ferocious demonic beasts, occupying the mountains as kings. They devoured and fought each other. Seeing this, a circle of intense fiery light appeared around the monkey's body, enveloping Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sand. For figures silently flew over the mountain of flames like streams of light. After passing the mountain of flames, what was unexpected was that the Moyun Mountain was lush with green mountains, lush with verdant trees, and shrouded in clouds and mist. It was a sight to behold. What a wonderland! Demonic aura was faintly discernible in the clouds and mist. There were probably hundreds of thousands of demonic soldiers raised in the mountain, and there was no lack of demon kings with dense demonic aura. This is the Bull Demon King's lair. As expected of one of the demon saints, Old Pig and Old Sand looked envious. Although Old Pig and Old Sand were half-step gold immortals, and were comparable to the demon saints of the demon race, when they occupied territories, both of them were generals without an army. Even though they had recruited some lesser demons, there were only a few hundred of them. How could they have such power? Only the monkey and Qin Feng's expressions did not change. The monkey's mountain of flowers and fruits was known as the 108 Grotto Heavens. He was the king of Owlai country, and although the power under his command was not as great as that of Emerald Cloud Mountain Banana Cave, it was not much worse. Qin Feng was even more so. He had countless disciples of primordial chaos Xingqian school, the Nine Nether tribe, the Khanate ancestral Tao Palace, and the gods of Feluan Crystal Wall system. If it were in the primordial wilderness, he would be one of the top demon saints. Opening his eyes, the monkey's fiery eyes of truth flashed with divine light as they swept across the mountaintop. He said after a moment, "That old bull and Princess Iron Fan are in the cave abode. I'll attract the attention of that old bull later. Brothers, take the opportunity to kill those demonic soldiers. Kid, you go stop Princess Iron Fan." The monkey looked at Qin Feng. "You have to be careful of the banana fan in Princess Iron Fan's hand. She has an ordinary cultivation base, but she has an extremely powerful Khanate Dharma treasure, the banana fan. It can fan the Khanate divine wind. Once she fans it, I'm afraid that even if you and I are half-step gold immortals, we won't be able to survive." Qin Feng nodded. He was well aware of the Plantain Fan's reputation from the very beginning. However, after saying that, the monkey's eyes flickered. If possible, it's best not to take her life. Why is that? Before Qin Feng could speak, Old Pig could no longer hold it in. Old Pig was ruthless. Although he looked the most lecherous, he was actually the most ruthless. When he heard that the monkey wanted to be protective of the fairer sex, he was immediately dissatisfied. Princess Iron Fan is the #1 beauty of the Azura race. Rumor has it that she is related to the second-generation Tao ancestor of Massacre in the Netherworld. If not, the monkey shook his head. Khanate Tao ancestor of Massacre? Everyone's expression changed slightly. The Khanate Tao ancestor massacre was not referring to the first-generation Tao ancestor of Massacre, Luo Ho, but the second-generation Tao ancestor of Massacre. The first-generation Tao ancestor of Massacre, Luo Ho, was rumored to have fallen. The second-generation Tao ancestor of Massacre was born in the Blood Sea. He attained the Tao at the end of the Primordial Era and at the beginning of the Primordial Era. He was a figure of the same era as the few Khanate Tao ancestors of the Lich race, as well as the Earth Immortal Tao ancestors. He controlled the great Tao of Massacre of the Khanate 5 Tao of Termination. He was one of the most mysterious and terrifying ancient existences among the many Tao ancestors in the world. I see. Everyone nodded with a solemn expression. Everyone came to an agreement and concealed themselves. The monkey immediately took action. He pulled out the golden hooped rod and, with a long howl, struck at Jade Cloud Mountain's banana cave. Thousands of golden beams of light fell from the sky. The world was like a curtain that was torn apart by the powerful rod. Boom! An earth-shattering noise filled the entire universe. The majestic mountain shook violently as if it would fall apart at any moment after being struck by the huge rod. Jade Cloud Mountain, deep in Banana Cave. The Bull Demon King didn't go to the cloud-scraping cave in the thunder-accumulating mountains for the past few days. Following the death of the 10,000-year-old Fox King of the cloud-scraping cave, Princess Jadeface was destined to become the meat on his chopping board. He didn't mind giving Princess Jadeface a few more days to consider. What he was worried about was his son, Red Boy. Not long ago, a small demon discovered the Withered Pine Stream. His son, Red Boy's Fire Cloud Cave, was completely abandoned. Red Boy's whereabouts were unknown. This matter was most likely related to the group of people seeking the scriptures. That monkey had an irreconcilable enmity with him. He was afraid that Red Boy had already been killed by him. Just as he was thinking, the Bull Demon King's expression suddenly changed. In the next moment, the entire Jade Cloud Mountain seemed to tremble violently. Chapter 1372. Who are you? You're too bold. The Bull Demon King was so angry that he was about to die. His expression was abnormally furious. With a flash of demonic light, he appeared outside the cave. Stupid monkey, it's you. The Bull Demon King raised his head. With just a glance, his expression immediately darkened. Rumble. The dense demonic clouds covered the sky and the sun. Following the Bull Demon King's rage, the dense demonic light swept out in all directions like raging waves. Kill! The monkey's eyes turned red the moment he saw the Bull Demon King. The golden Jingu Bang struck out like lightning, like a dream, like a comet crashing over. Monkey, I heard that you failed to enter the heavenly palace and became a lackey of Buddhism. I didn't expect you to be such a suitable lackey. The Bull Demon King raised his hand and slashed forward, blasting the Jingu Bang away. But speaking of which, I'm still your big brother, the leader of the 7 great sages. Monkey, do you think you have a chance of winning against me? Bull Demon King, you pretended to be benevolent back then and schemed to cheat me of the true inheritance of the Khanate Great Tao of Strength. Later on, you harmed me, causing me to lose everything and even be trapped by Tathagata. Today, I'll take everything back from you. The monkey's expression was cold, and 2 cold bolts of lightning shot out from his eyes. At this moment, in Emerald Cloud Mountain, many demon experts saw the changes in Banana Cave and rushed over. The monkey wielded the Jingu Bang like a golden divine sword. The long sword light swept across the void for thousands of miles, and the Khanate Great Tao of Strength marked split heaven and earth. A group of demon experts who approached were cut in half at the waist, and blood soared into the sky. Monkey, don't try to be brave. You were foolish back then and willingly gave us the benefits. You can't blame others. The death of a few demon experts did not affect the Bull Demon King in the slightest. He looked at the monkey with a laugh, and waves of terrifying and oppressive demonic power surged from his body. However, since you've come knocking on my door today, I'll send you to your grave. The same Khanate Great Tao of Strength rippled out from his body. The two instantly collided, and it was like lightning striking the earth. Both of them were half-step gold immortals who cultivated the innate Grand Tao of Force. They also cultivated the same techniques. So, it would be difficult to determine the victor in a short period of time. In addition, Old Pig and Old Shah did not remain idle while the monkey attacked. The two of them turned into streaks of light and charged towards the experts of Emerald Cloud Mountain, unleashing their killing techniques. Waves of blood were stirred up among the demons. Qin Feng's figure appeared at the entrance of Banana Cave. Moments after the Bull Demon King rushed out, Princess Iron Fan hurriedly ran out from Banana Cave. She was an extremely beautiful woman with a tall and slender figure. Her figure was graceful, and her skin was white as snow. Her figure had the unique charm of a young woman, and it was alluring. Her pair of watery eyes were extremely alluring. However, at this moment, her eyes were filled with killing intent. She instantly saw the monkey who was engaged in a life-and-death battle with the Bull Demon King. Her beautiful face was slightly startled. She seemed to be familiar with the monkey and was at a loss of what to do. At this moment, his expression suddenly changed. At some point, a black-robed youth had appeared 100 feet in front of him. Half-step golden immortal. An extremely huge pressure came out of nowhere. Princess Iron Fan's expression changed. Almost instinctively, she summoned the natal magic treasure in her body. An emerald spiritual light flickered in her hand, and a stream of light appeared from her hand, turning into a huge green banana fan. An extremely nimble pre-world spirit light bloomed, and a tremendous power was released. However, at this moment, a vast spiritual light had already enveloped her entire body like a torrent. The order of time and space seemed to have been completely frozen. Princess Iron Fan was extremely shocked. The heaven immortal dermic powers in her body seemed to have solidified, and she was completely unable to circulate them. Qin Feng grabbed with one hand, and Princess Iron Fan's figure instantly shrank like a stream of light and fell into Qin Feng's palm. Princess, on the other side, the Bull Demon King watched as Qin Feng kept Princess Iron Fan into his sleeve. Violent flames danced in his eyes. He made a move, pulled out a hand, and pressed down with all his might. Boom! The entire banana cave suddenly turned into fine powder. Qin Feng's skin, flesh, and blood seemed to be blown violently, as if an extremely terrifying strong wind had blown past. His primordial spirit revolved, and a divine light appeared around him. A 12-grade green lotus platform slowly revolved, and all the boundless divine power blocked that palm. Qin Feng's expression was indifferent. This palm was enough to kill an ordinary half-step golden immortal, but it was far from enough to injure him. However, this Bull Demon King was truly terrifying. In the face of such a great enemy like the monkey, he could still free up his hand and release such a terrifying killing move to deal with him. Bang! On the other side, the moment the Bull Demon King was distracted, the monkey seized the fleeting opportunity. A vast golden light swept across, and the Jingu bang heavily struck the Bull Demon King's chest. A puff of blood spurted out from the Bull Demon King's mouth, and his figure instantly flew towards Qin Feng. Heavenly Steel Mystic Technique, 4 forms in 1. Qin Feng sneered, and the supreme dermic power of the Khanate creation Great Tao surged around him. 108 supreme steels bloomed in the palm of his hand, and the heavenly steels combined into one, slamming into the Bull Demon King's back. Even though the Bull Demon King's Tao body of Khanate strength was boundless and mysterious, all his internal organs were smashed to pieces when he was hit, and a huge bloody hole exploded in his chest. Heavenly Demon Tao body, immortal body, waves as vast as the sea bloomed from the Bull Demon King's body. Visible to the naked eye, countless spiritual chi above the sky poured into the Bull Demon King's body like a funnel. In just an instant, the Bull Demon King's injuries healed. Ancient Heavenly Demon Tao body. The monkey's face was gloomy as he looked at the Bull Demon King coldly. They were both half-step golden immortals who cultivated the Khanate Great Tao of strength, but not every half-step golden immortal who cultivated the Khanate Great Tao of strength was the same. His Tao body could be called the Khanate 9 Transformations Tao body of strength. Although the Bull Demon King had obtained his cultivation method, it seemed to have combined the heavenly demon Tao body of the ancient Fey Court's secret technique. It combined the immortality and indestructibility of the Khanate 9 Transformations Tao body, as well as the domineering ability of the heavenly demon Tao body to plunder all things. Every heavenly demon of the ancient celestial court was a ferocious creature that devoured heaven and earth, and every birth was the nightmare of all living things. Having absorbed the heavenly demon's ferocity, viciousness, and instinct to devour all things, the bull demon king's Tao body would be even more difficult to deal with than his Khanate 9 transformations Tao body. On Emerald Cloud Mountain, countless lives were plundered, and even the power of the stars above poured into the bull demon king's body involuntarily. The huge hole was terrifying to the extreme. Tens of thousands of miles of land turned into yellow sand in the blink of an eye, and all life was devoured. How is it, Sun Wukong? How does my 9 transformations heavenly demon Tao body compare to yours? The bull demon king's triumphant, wild laughter rang out from within the terrifying hole that devoured heaven and earth. You think you're so amazing that you go around challenging immortals and suppressing them with your honorific title. Little do you know that in the eyes of me, the bull demon king, you're nothing but an ignorant mediocrity. And you ignorant brat. Qin Feng felt a ferocious gaze fall on him, as if to devour him from skin to bone. How dare you hurt my wife? Today, Emerald Cloud Mountain's Banana Cave will be your burial ground. A majestic beam of heavenly demon divine light erupted from the bull demon king's hand. Qin Feng was the first to feel the terrifying power that could devour all things sweeping toward him, as if to devour all his essence, qi, and spirit. Chapter 1373. Great Tao of Heavenly Demon. A strange light flashed in Qin Feng's eyes. His body revolved as he vanished from his original location. Divine light flashed past, and the earth turned into dust. The void cracked and dried up as if countless yuan qi and vitality were forcibly taken away. Several hundred meters away, Qin Feng's figure appeared several hundred meters away. He looked at the bull demon king indifferently. In ancient times, the Great Tao of Heavenly Demon was the name of the Great Tao of Postnatal Plunder. The Great Tao of Postnatal Plunder was incomparably domineering. The nature of the demon race was to devour and plunder. Therefore, it was most suitable for this Great Tao. In the ancient heavenly court, those who could be called heavenly demons were some of the top demon race experts. The Great Tao of Heavenly Demon was also a secret technique of the ancient heavenly court. Qin Feng looked at the bull demon king with some interest. The Great Tao of Postnatal Plunder was actually a part of the Great Tao of Creation. Obtaining the inheritance of a heavenly demon would be of great help in comprehending creation and perfecting that supreme great mystique. You can avoid it the first time, but not the second time. In the black hole, compared to the monkey, the bull demon king was more angry at Qin Feng for taking away Princess Iron Fan. Instead, he put the monkey in second place. An incomparably dark demonic light swept towards Qin Feng. Kid, be careful. Don't get entangled by the heavenly demon power. Otherwise, it won't stop until you die. The monkey reminded angrily. A ball of fire appeared around him. Golden light flashed and appeared in front of Qin Feng. He knew that Qin Feng did not have any supreme great mystique to protect himself. Although the heavenly demon divine light was not a supreme great mystique, it was far beyond ordinary great mystiques. Ordinary half-step golden immortals would be restrained by the heavenly demon divine light cultivated from the Great Tao of Heavenly Demon. True Samadhi fire, burning heaven and earth. A terrifying crimson flame burst out from the Jingu Bang like a torrent, striking the heavenly Fey divine light that was sweeping towards Yishiwen. True Samadhi fire could burn anything. Boom! Amidst the black light, the bull demon king's shrill roar could be heard. The crimson divine light sprinkled down, and his skin, flesh, and blood instantly evaporated. The supreme great divine ability, true Samadhi fire, was too powerful. On the side, Old Pig and Old Sand, who had cleaned up the surrounding Emerald Cloud Mountain experts, also rushed over. When they saw this scene, their faces were filled with envy. The power of a supreme divine ability was too great. It was far from what an ordinary half-step gold immortal could compare to. The Bull Demon King's physical body and primordial spirit turned into ashes inch by inch under the crimson, true samadhi fire. The scorching true samadhi fire seemed to have turned the Bull Demon King's primordial spirit to ashes. Seeing this scene, everyone was about to heave a sigh of relief. However, at this moment, everyone's expressions changed drastically. They suddenly turned around and saw a pressure that far exceeded that of a third-step, half-step, golden, immortal erupting from the spot. Under this violent pressure, a strange and ferocious divine light was born from the spot and swept over. It was as if it wanted to devour everyone's primordial spirits and Tao bodies. Domineering, arrogant, and with an irresistible craftiness and viciousness. Their essence, magic power, and primordial spirits seemed to be drawn out and devoured in one fell swoop. Their expressions changed, and they hurriedly retreated thousands of feet. An extremely blazing and ferocious demonic light was suddenly reborn from the spot. Heavenly demon rebirth. An ancient Tao voice filled the universe, shaking the mountains and rivers for thousands of miles. A vast aura from the ancient era was born from the place where the Bull Demon King's body fell. It swept across millions of miles and alarmed countless immortals and gods. With the appearance of this Tao voice, heaven and earth seemed to tremble. A terrifying ancient power was born, absorbing the vitality of the mountains, the sun, the moon, and even heaven and earth to be reborn. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the Ox King's body instantly recovered. His long black hair flowed down like a waterfall, and his eyes were both demonic and devilish, as deep as the ancient abyss. A surge of pure black, demonic chi erupted from his body, as though it could devour the heavens and devour the earth. That majestic, demonic body of his was filled with a destructive might. He raised his eyes and looked at the monkey, Qin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sand. A domineering, demonic power that could devour heaven and earth surged in his eyes. Seventh brother, do you really think that the true samadhi fire can do anything to me, the Bull Demon King? Heavenly Demon Nirvana, you've switched to the Tao of Heavenly Demon? Seeing this, the monkey's expression changed drastically, and his eyes were filled with unprecedented horror. Compared to the Bull Demon King from before, the current Bull Demon King gave him the feeling that he was at least 10 times more dangerous. That's right, the great Tao of Heavenly Demon. Compared to the great Tao of innate strength, the great Tao of Heavenly Demon is the true legacy of the great Tao of innate demons. The Bull Demon King's originally coarse face now had an indescribable demonic charm to it. He was handsome beyond compare. Feeling the incomparably vast power in his body, he couldn't help but be intoxicated by it. The Bull Demon King could be called a heavenly demon now. A half-step golden immortal who cultivated the great Tao of Heavenly Demon was undoubtedly terrifying. Even during the golden age of the ancient demons, when the 2 demon emperors of the demon court were still alive, heavenly demons were also extremely rare. Apart from the 10 ancient demon gods, there were only a few extremely rare ones. However, every one of them was a terrifying existence that made countless ancient sects and even living beings pale at the mention of them. The monkey, Old Pig, and Old Sand's expressions turned abnormally ugly. The Bull Demon King raised his eyes and looked at the gloomy expressions of the monkey and the others, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Seventh brother, I still have to thank you today. If it wasn't for your true samadhi fire, I might not have been able to forget all my understanding of the great Tao of innate strength and completely transform my 9 refinements Tao body into a great heavenly demon body. He was like an extremely patient hunter, calmly looking at the prey that was already on the chopping board. The monkey took a deep breath and looked at the terrifying Bull Demon King. You deliberately let me, old son, meet Red Boy? Seventh brother, looks like you're not stupid. The Bull Demon King's devilishly handsome face smiled. However, your reaction is a little too late. Bull Demon King, You actually used your own son in order to cultivate the heavenly demon body. The monkey still found it hard to believe, although he had long realized that the bull demon king was definitely not as heroic as he was 500 years ago when they became sworn brothers, and that all of this was a disguise of this despicable person who was forced to the extreme. However, such a sinister move was still beyond the monkey's imagination. For the great Tao, sacrificing a mere son is nothing. The bull demon king opened his arms and covered the sky. The heavenly demon aura was like a huge cape fluttering behind him. His eyes flashed with insolent laughter. In the face of the great Tao, what can't these mere worldly possessions be abandoned? After laughing wildly, the bull demon king looked at the monkey with a mysterious gaze. Furthermore, do you really think that Red Boy is my son? He's not. He's just that bitch who missed you so much that she grabbed a strand of your aura and nurtured it in the mountain of flames for 1,000 years. What did you say? The monkey's body trembled as he looked at the bull demon king. His expression changed drastically. My good seventh brother, you didn't hear wrongly. From a certain perspective, Red Boy is your son. The bull demon king looked at the monkey with an extremely sinister gaze. Even though that bitch was ravaged by me for hundreds of years, she still can't forget you. How is it? Are you touched to hear this news? The bull demon king's face was filled with a twisted, vicious, and extremely vicious pride. The monkey felt as if he had been electrocuted and was stunned on the spot. Chapter 1374. What a tragedy for the monkey. At the side, Chin Feng, Old Pig, and Old Sand all had looks of disbelief on their faces. None of them had expected the arrogant and ferocious monkey to have such a sad past. He was cheated of everything by the bull demon king, framed, and even his lover was taken away. Bull demon king. The monkey's face was ashen. In the next moment, he turned into a crimson ray and flew toward the bull demon king, swinging his staff down. 10,000 rays of crimson light shot out. It was as if millions of voids were shattered by the monkey's thunderous fury. The monkey's strength was needless to say. After refining the true Saudi fire and devouring the six-eared macaque, his strength was considered one of the best among the first-rate half-step golden immortals. But what was shocking was that he seemed to be completely suppressed by the bull demon king. Demonic chi soared into the sky as if it could pierce through millions of mountains, rivers, sun, and moon. No matter how many times the monkey shattered his body, the bull demon king could always recover. He transformed into countless strands of demonic chi that enveloped the monkey. Neither too fast nor too slow. Even the true samadhi fire could not burn away the endless heavenly demonic chi. Instead, it was constantly wearing down the monkey's primordial spirit dermic powers as a connate 8 half-step golden immortal. Under the heavenly demonic arts, even a monkey's invincible Vata and 9 transformations Tao body dimmed. Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a strange light. In his opinion, the heavenly demonic arts created by the ancient Fey court were born for battle. The more they fought, the braver and stronger they became, tempering their undying demonic bodies in battle. This fighting style was not like the primordial age, but more like the martial arts cultivators of the spirit sea realm. Boom! Under 10,000 rays of crimson light, the bull demon king's body was shattered again. But as the heavenly demonic chi expanded like a thick cloud, covering the sky, the demonic souls of the dead Old Pig and Old Sand in the depths of Emerald Cloud Mountain were forcibly extracted and devoured by the heavenly demonic chi. He could absorb the flesh and blood of all life, as well as the endless, baleful, demonic, and yin chi in the depths of heaven and earth to be reborn. It seemed that every time his body was shattered, the bull demon king's newborn heavenly demonic body would be tempered by external forces. Not only did his control increase, his heavenly demonic chi would also be purified. Brother Monkey, we are here to help you. Old Pig and Old Sand couldn't help but charge forward. 2 beams of divine light pierced through the air and struck the bull demon king. Lao Sha's 5-poison, saint-slaying sword had corroded the heavenly demon king's body. Even though the bull demon king had an almost indestructible heavenly demon body, he was still severely injured. He howled painfully at the sky. That was all there was to it. Lao Sha's poison could corrode the nascent divinity, magic power, and even true spirits of ordinary Taoists and Buddhists. But heavenly demons were extremely dangerous creatures. It could adapt to all kinds of extreme powers. Moreover, it had an extremely terrifying recovery ability. A moment later, he absorbed the baleful aura of the world and recovered instantly. However, Old Pig's devouring great Tao secret technique made the bull demon king extremely wary. Heavenly demons could split and merge. Undying demon souls could absorb and plunder all living things to evolve. However, Old Pig's devouring mystic law allowed him to create an yin-yang chaos hole and digest countless strange forces. No matter how tough and stubborn the bull demon king's heavenly face soul was, it was unable to escape. The moment he fell into Old Pig's chaotic hole, great firmament divine light, it was like throwing a meat bun at a dog, unable to return. With Old Pig suppressing the bull demon king's heavenly demon power, the monkey and Lao Sha gradually gained the upper hand. The monkey gave up on the Jingu Bang and used the true Samadhi fire to trap a portion of the bull demon king's demon soul and refine it. On the other side, Monk Sha did the same. He used the immature 5-poison saint-slaying sword to suppress a portion of the bull demon king's demon soul. I have to kill this pig first. The bull demon king was enraged by the repeated attacks. Plunder heaven and earth. While the monkey and Lao Sha focused on a portion of his demon soul, he pushed the heavenly demon primordial divinity in his body to the limit. It turned into a long rainbow that could devour all things. Demonic aura swept toward Old Pig like a vast torrent. After completely transforming into a heavenly demon body, this half-step supreme technique that he had painstakingly cultivated had become a supreme technique. With this supreme divine ability, in addition to the strange divine abilities and techniques of the heavenly demon body, his strength was above that of the monkey. In an instant, Old Pig's chaotic whole, great firmament divine light was forcefully absorbed and suppressed by his divine light. The portion of the heavenly demon's soul suppressed by Old Pig instantly merged with the heavenly demon divine light outside. In the next moment, Old Pig's enraged roar could be heard. A black and white divine light flew out and fled in panic, landing a few meters away from the monkey and Lao Sha. Old Pig's body looked abnormally wretched. His lower body was like a withered tree branch. In the blink of an eye, the flesh and blood essence of the lower half of his body was completely corroded by the demon Ox King. If not for his quick escape, his entire body and primordial divinity would have been devoured by the bull demon king. Damn it, Old Pig, are you all right? The monkey and Lao Sha were both shocked and furious. Their carelessness had allowed the bull demon king to take advantage of the opportunity to severely injure Old Pig, who posed the greatest threat to the bull demon king. Old Pig's vitality had been greatly damaged, and he looked a little dispirited. I'm fine, I won't die for now, but I'm afraid I can't help you. Old Pig knew his own situation. A strange, heavenly demon energy was invading his upper body from his withered lower body, and even his primordial divinity. If he couldn't get rid of it in time, it would be troublesome. After devouring much of Old Pig's essence, the bull demon king's body transformed. The heavenly demon aura around him became denser, and the demonic aura he emitted broke through thousands of miles. It blotted out the sky. The monkey and Lao Sha could not help but feel an extremely heavy pressure in their anger. Without Old Pig to share the burden, the remaining two were under immense pressure. Today, perhaps all of them would be buried in Jade Cloud Mountain. Seventh brother, I'll make an exception today and teach you a lesson. The older, the wiser. Learn to be obedient in the future and grow a brain. After the bull demon king refined a portion of Old Pig's essence, his heavenly demon aura surged again. His strength increased again. He stared coldly at the group, his eyes filled with greed. He was like a human-shaped tonic. However, you won't have any more chances in the future. Today, all of you will die. After devouring all of you, this saint should be able to reach the heights of the ancient demon sages. After this saint attains his Tao, I will properly thank all of you. Monkey, old sand, and old pig looked on coldly and fearfully. The bull demon king's heavenly monster body turned into a beam of demonic light that swept towards them. The vast demonic aura was like a torrent that reached the heavens, confining the void and shrouding the group within. There was no way to escape. The monkey, Lao Sha, and old pig's expressions turned abnormally bitter. It looked like they would not be able to escape today. The bull demon king, who had cultivated the heavenly demon body, had already touched the heights of the ancient demon sages. The ancient demon sages were all far more powerful than the average first-rate half-step golden immortal. They were not something that the juniors who had been half-step golden immortals for thousands of years could compare to. However, at this moment, under the heavenly demon torrent, a huge pure white divine light flew out. This divine light was extremely mysterious. The heavenly demon divine light that swept across the group was instantly blocked, and it was involuntarily sucked in like a whale sucking in water. It was even forcefully devoured and refined. The ferocious heavenly demon was like a drowning beast encountering the divine light, and its vital point was firmly captured. Chapter 1375. In the blink of an eye, the milky white divine light had refined half of the heavenly fey divine light. "What the hell is this?" roared the Ox King. The heavenly fey divine light trembled violently, transforming into a black serpent that tried to break free of the milky white divine light. However, it was firmly pinned down, and even the heavenly fey primordial spirit seemed to be completely sucked in. The heavenly fey primordial spirit forcefully inhaled and exhaled boundless malevolent chi and yin chi, turning them into earth-shattering demonic light that tried to sever the suction. However, as soon as they approached, the milky white divine light scattered, disintegrated, and refined them. The Ox King's primordial spirit grew weaker and weaker. "It's him!" The monkey, old pig, and old sand gaped at the black-clad youth at the entrance of Banana Cave. They couldn't believe their eyes. The previously ferocious sky demon bull demon king, who was almost unstoppable, was so easily suppressed. How could Qin Feng, who was also a third-step, half-step golden immortal, be so powerful? Back then, Qin Feng had admitted himself that he was inferior to the monkey. Even the monkey, who was incomparably powerful and close to reaching the ancient demon saint realm, was completely suppressed by the Ox King. How'd he do it? How did he suppress the Ox King, who was close to reaching the ancient demon saint realm? Had he been pretending to be weak all this time? Ignoring the shocked crowd, Qin Feng calmly suppressed the Ox King's heavenly fey divine light. He circulated the divine light of creation and suppressed the Ox King's primordial spirit inch by inch. The acquired great Tao of plunder was domineering and incomparably ferocious, but to the connate great Tao of creation, the acquired great Tao of plunder was merely an acquired branch. It was strong enough. However, it ultimately lost the grandeur and grandeur of the connate great Tao of creation. It was just like how the acquired great Tao of plunder was completely restrained by the connate great Tao of creation. Most importantly, it was the supreme power of the divine light of creation. Qin Feng's comprehension of the great Tao of myriad worlds created this divine light of creation by combining his lifetime's worth of cultivation. Although it had just been formed, it had the supreme power to defy the heavens, earth, life, and death. Qin Feng opened his hand, and a milky white divine light swirled in his palm. Inch by inch, the bull demon king's heavenly demon body was refined, and his heavenly demon Yuan Shun was gradually exposed. A pitch-black demonic flag appeared in the hand of the heavenly demon's primordial spirit. Heavenly demon god-slaying banner. Upon seeing this, Monkey, Old Pig, and Old Sand's expressions changed drastically. After the ancient Fey court took control of the 33 heavens, in order to suppress the resistance, they gathered many ancient Fey sages and created several peerless array formations. The most famous one was the heavenly cycle star formation, which was known as one of the 3 ferocious formations of the untainted land. It was as famous as the 10,000 Immortals formation of the GS sect and the 12 divine beings formation of the sorcerer tribe. It was said to be a supreme formation that could trap and kill Dao ancestors. Secondly, there were a few sets of top-notch arrays. These arrays were comparable to the Yin and Yang dust array of the Ren school and the mysterious Yin array of the Witch tribe. The 10 Directions Heavenly Demon God-Hunting formation was one of the top formations created by the demon race. Back then, many immortals and gods of the ancient era had died because of this array formation. The core of the 10 Directions Heavenly Demon God-Hunting formation was the 18 Heavenly Demon God-Slaying banners. This set of divine banners could be separated or combined. Every single Heavenly Demon God-Slaying banner was comparable to some famous supreme treasures of heaven and earth. Not only did the Bull Demon King obtain the Heavenly Demon legacy of the ancient heavenly courts, he even obtained a Heavenly Demon God-Slaying banner and used it as his destiny numinous treasure, 10,000 demons devouring souls. It was filled with wildness and primitive ferocity. It seemed to roar out from the river of time of the ancient era. There seemed to be the souls of countless divine beasts, sacred beasts, spirit beasts, and ferocious beasts roaring in the demonic flag. Under the control of the heavenly demon, they devoured everything. They charged towards Qin Feng. The Bull Demon King's expression was ferocious as he tried his best to summon more demonic souls. The billowing malevolent Qi of heaven and earth and Yin Qi were pulled out from the ground by the Bull Demon flag. They were forcefully swallowed and spat out to strengthen the power of the demonic flag. The swallowing of demonic Qi seemed to be forcefully snatching the vitality of billions of miles away. Child's play. Qin Feng laughed coldly. He pushed his hair crown, and a white gas spurted out from between his eyebrows. It rose up and formed an auspicious cloud. His qi radiated, and the cool brilliance seemed to illuminate the heaven and earth. Above the auspicious cloud, a milky white Sarira emitted a huge Sarira vital light. Under the Sarira, there was a 12th grade green lotus of creation. The lotus plate was as big as a wheel, and the aura of the black-yellow of merit circulated around it. Endless Buddhist light was bright and clear, and it displayed the true essence of Western Buddhism. Following the appearance of this auspicious cloud, countless lotus flowers appeared around him. He waved his sleeves, and the lotus flowers turned into thousands of rainbow-like milky white divine lights that swept across the area. The souls of countless divine beasts and demonic beasts were purified by the lotus flowers. Their ferociousness and resentment were eradicated. The ferocious eyes of the demonic souls gradually turned gentle and benevolent. Amitabha Buddha, Lord of the boundless sea of the Namo world. Their figures changed, and each of them turned into golden guardian Vajras. Layers of pale, golden Buddhist light appeared on their bodies. The water-like Buddhist light blessed Qin Feng's body, making his power even more vast and mighty like the sun in the sky. These demonic souls were completely purified. Damn bald donkey! The Bull Demon King glared at Qin Feng with resentment, and his face was distorted. The golden body of psychokinesis of the Western Buddhist sects was extremely effective against demonic souls and malicious ghosts. He immediately prepared to withdraw the heavenly demon God-slaying banner. This was like throwing a meat bun at a dog, and there was no return. Qin Feng felt that after purifying a wave of demonic souls, not only was his Yuan Shun Sarira not tired, But there were also strands of black-yellow of merit descending from the void and merging with the Sarira formed by his Yuan Shun, causing his Yuan Shun Sarira's cultivation to increase inch by inch. Countless Buddhist scriptures and the mysteries of creation were grasped by him at a faster rate than before. There's such a benefit. Qin Feng's eyes flickered, and he simply sat down cross-legged. His hands formed a Buddhist seal, and an even more vast Buddhist light merged with the great creation Abhijna erupted like a golden crow Sunday. Behind his mind, a boundless divine light appeared, as if it was connected to the western mystical mountain, the boundless Buddhist kingdom, and borrowed the power of countless Buddhas, bodhisattvas, arhats, and arhats. It was a nirvana realm with boundless light and eternal bliss. It reached the nirvana realm of Buddhism, where Mahavairakana sat cross-legged, the origin of all Buddhism. As Qin Feng's palm came down, it seemed as if there was a boundless divine light shining on the Bull Demon King's body. The Bull Demon King realized that he couldn't move, and he couldn't control his natal spiritual treasure, the heavenly demon god-slaying banner. Countless demonic souls rushed madly into the Buddhist light like a broken dam, and his face was drained of color. Qin Feng looked coldly at the heavenly demon's Yuan Shun that was drowned by the boundless divine light. With the heavenly demon's inheritance in hand, his connate creation Great Tao would definitely improve, and he wouldn't be far away from Tao third level. Chapter 1376. In the blink of an eye, the Bull Demon King was at an absolute disadvantage. The monkey, old pig, and old sand couldn't take their eyes off the scene. Seeing Qin Feng use the supreme Buddhist art, all beings united, the Bull Demon King's primordial spirit showed a strange and confused expression of piety. The monkey, old pig, and old sand's expressions finally changed. Qin Feng was using a Buddhist expiation art to forcibly expiate the half-step golden immortal. Qin Feng naturally wanted to expiate the Bull Demon King. Qin Feng had long coveted the great Tao of plunder contained in the heavenly demon's legacy. The great Tao of plunder of the heavenly demon would definitely improve the creation mediation mystique. He was determined to get it. Countless rays of Buddha light seeped into the Bull Demon King's body and drilled into the depths of his heavenly monster Yuan Shun. When the heavenly monster's power came into contact with the Buddha light, it was like snow meeting the heat of the sun. Layer by layer, they melted. Under the Buddhist light, the Bull Demon King's primordial spirit was gradually drowned. However, although Qin Feng's creation mediation mystique suppressed the Bull Demon King, it was not easy to expiate the Bull Demon King's will of a half-step golden immortal. The Bull Demon King had cultivated the body of a heavenly demon and was incomparably ferocious. He even had an unyielding will of a heavenly demon that wanted to devour and plunder even the heavens. Such an existence could not be expiated even if he self-destructed. Unless the Buddhas took action, there might be a chance. However, Qin Feng could be called the Buddhas and the demonic lords in both Buddhist and demonic Taoists. He was extremely proficient in bewitchment and bewitchment. After specializing in Buddhist Taoists, he was basically not inferior to some of the Buddhas in terms of expiation. Qin Feng's Buddha's light became purer as the two supreme Dharma access of all beings united and the primeval demon heart sutra intertwined. It was as if all the Buddhas in the nirvana had descended, and the wills of billions of people were reciting the Buddhist sutra together. Vaguely, there was a power that surpassed the power of a half-step golden immortal that distorted the will of the Bull Demon King, causing his unyielding will to be confused, blurred, and even lose his mind. It's really incredible. This brat's Buddha's light is so strange. It seems that not only does it have the power of Buddhism to deliver all living beings from torment, it also seems to have the ferocious and pervasive power of the heterodox path. When I, old son, touched the Buddha's light slightly, I felt like I was about to be subdued and completely converted to Buddhism, worshipping him as my master. Before he joined the Buddhist monasteries, he was probably a half-step golden immortal born by the fiends. At this moment, in the void, many majestic and ancient wills that had been paying attention to the journey to the west saw a clue. All of them had strange expressions on their faces. Many Buddhas were not surprised. Buddhism accepted all the fated people in the world. Since Qin Feng was willing to join Buddhism and turn from a devil to a Buddha, it was his fate. Moreover, it was not that there were no fiend sect experts in the Buddhist monasteries. However, the Tao ancestors of the heavens did not look too good. Half-step golden immortals of the fiend sect have been famous for being difficult to deal with since ancient times. Especially after turning from a devil to a Buddha, they were more difficult to deal with than ordinary half-step golden immortals of the fiend sect. Damn bald donkey, you dare to use heterodox methods to harm me. I will not live under the same sky as you. Suddenly, there seemed to be an unusually fierce aura appearing from the celestial demon Godslayer banner. An ancient, boundless, and incomparably vigorous aura poured into the depths of the Bull Demon King's heavenly demon primordial spirit in the secret chamber. At this moment, the demonic aura on his primordial spirit surged, and he suddenly regained his original nature. He operated his heavenly demon primordial spirit, and countless heavenly demon auras swelled, about to self-destruct. He would rather self-destruct than lose his will and be enslaved by others. Obviously, there was a demon expert who had interfered and secretly helped the Bull Demon King through the celestial demon Godslayer banner. You want to ruin my plans? Dream on. A fierce light flashed in Qin Feng's eyes, and the primordial spirit Sarira was pushed to the extreme, and the rich creation divine art erupted to the extreme, turning into a beam of light that shrouded the Bull Demon King's heavenly demon primordial spirit. Arg! The Bull Demon King could not bear the pain of being cut into pieces, and let out a shrill cry. In an instant, the Bull Demon King's heavenly demon primordial spirit seemed to have been cut into dozens of pieces by a sharp blade. His will was scattered, and the heavenly demon aura that had gathered suddenly lost control and scattered wildly, unable to self-destruct. Bull Demon King, you are destined to not escape from my hands today. No matter who helps you, you will be converted by me. Qin Feng sneered, and his hands began to change. Buddhist power swept out, and the boundless pure land of Buddhism appeared on his left hand. Billions of living beings turned into arhats, and endless Buddhist light was like a land of Buddhism. On his right hand, he channeled the heavenly demon Dharma gates and reversed the primordial spirit Sarira, faintly splitting out a heavenly demon Sarira. Boundless devil power surged, turning into 3,000 boundless devil domains. His entire person was like a huge person made of light with two colors. One side was faintly golden, merciful, and holy, like the merciful Buddha who was high up in the spirit mountain of West Earth, looking down on the mortal world. The other side was like an abyss, pitch black like ink, and had an extremely evil expression, like the great heavenly demon of the end that destroyed billions of worlds. His magic was profound. The Buddhist and devil powers interchanged freely, and inconceivably and perfectly appeared on Qin Feng, turning into two rays of divine light that shone on the Bull Demon King's heavenly demon primordial spirit. Half a time later, the heavenly demon primordial spirit lost its will again, and a pious expression appeared on its face. But soon, the aura of an ancient heavenly demon appeared in the heavenly demon god slaying banner again, stimulating the will of the heavenly demon king, and an extremely ferocious expression appeared on his face. Causing trouble again? But today I have time to waste with you. Qin Feng sneered, unmoved. Just like that, a day passed, and thousands of transformations occurred. Every time the Bull Demon King was about to be converted into Buddhist light, an ancient heavenly demon aura would appear in the heavenly demon god slaying banner. But after such a long tug-of-war, the time that the Bull Demon King could stay awake was getting shorter and shorter. In this kind of consumption, Qin Feng's understanding of the Buddhist mystic arts and the heavenly demon arts of the devil sect became deeper and deeper. The two completely different powers of Buddhism and devil began to fuse on a deeper level. The 3,000 endless devil realms and the boundless Pure Land seemed to have completely fused together, and there was one in each of them. That merciful Buddhist power had an unprecedented domineering aura. At the same time that this fusion appeared, Qin Feng felt that the countless Buddhist and devil sect mystic arts in his mind seemed to have been completely forgotten, but also seemed to be completely under his control. When this feeling appeared, Qin Feng's eyes faintly revealed a look of surprise. Many people knew that in order to pass the fourth step of the Khanate half-step Golden Immortal Realm, one had to forget all the mystic arts in one's mind and all the mystic arts created by the predecessors. Of course, that was not really forgetting, but it represented a higher degree of control and understanding. It meant that one had truly understood those mystic arts, fused them together, and walked out of one's own Tao. Chapter 1377. Vaguely, he had forgotten all the secret arts related to the Demon Tao and Buddha Tao. This meant that he had fully grasped this part of the Demon Tao and Buddha Tao, merging them into his own innate Tao and forging his own path of Tao. With this breakthrough, the Buddha light shone brightly, and the unyielding will in the Bull Demon King's heart to fight against man, earth, and heaven was finally twisted and disintegrated. In this hopeless despair, the heavenly demon Bull Demon King's heavenly monster Yuan shone with golden light. He clasped his hands together and looked at Qin Feng with reverence. Ba, Lord of the boundless sea Tathagata, disciple has finally seen through my stubbornness. From now on, I will wholeheartedly convert to Buddha, dedicate myself to Buddha, and make up for the sins I have committed all these years. As he finished, he bowed deeply and worshipped Qin Feng. A surge of golden power of vow flew out from his head like a dragon and landed around Qin Feng. Behind him, a huge, three-headed golden body appeared, holding a divine pestle that glowed with rainbow colors. It had 18 arms and 24 heads, holding a jade umbrella, flower pot, fish intestines, a divine pestle, a treasured file, a golden bell, a golden bow, a silver halberd, a banner, and others. That was the golden body of Buddha, a golden body refined by the Buddhas of the Buddhist sect with the help of the incense of the believers in the heavens. Although Qin Feng was a Buddha, his mastery of the Buddha Tao was limited, and he did not carefully refine his own Buddha golden body. But now, he had seen through the mysteries of the demon Tao and cultivated a golden body that truly belonged to him. This golden body was huge. Its 18 arms were formed with all kinds of Buddhist treasures, as if it was holding up 18 huge, illusory Buddha kingdoms. Most of the believers of the boundless sea Tathagata, Lord of the boundless sea Tathagata, would have their souls enter the illusory Buddha kingdoms after their death and enjoy eternal bliss. They would become the source of Qin Feng's power. Generations of believers would contribute their power to Qin Feng. As soon as the Buddha kingdom appeared, many Vajra guardians flew into it and contributed their golden power of vow, helping Qin Feng to refine the golden body inch by inch. However, the hundreds of thousands of Vajra guardians who had been enlightened by demonic souls were no match for a heavenly demon like the Bull Demon King. As a heavenly demon, the Bull Demon King's golden power of faith was 3 times that of the Vajra guardians after he was converted. Nan Wushi, Emperor of the boundless sea, Tathagata, you dare to enlighten this saint's son. This saint will not let this matter rest. Seeing that the Bull Demon King was completely converted, a demon saint brand flew out from the celestial demon god-slaying banner and turned into a man with 2 horns on his head. He stared coldly at Qin Feng. After a short moment, the demon saint's brand suddenly swept up the heavenly demon godslaughter banner and was about to fly away. But Qin Feng instantly grabbed it in his hand. The unknown ancient demon sage roared several times, and a moment later, the demon sage imprint inside actually self-destructed. Clearly, The demon sage's imprint would rather self-destruct than let its imprint fall into Qin Feng's hands. Qin Feng's eyes were filled with pity. The demon sage's imprint contained a portion of the ancient demon sage's memories. If he could capture it, he might be able to gain a deeper understanding of the demon sage that he had offended. Then, he would be able to find a way to deal with it. Suddenly, Qin Feng's expression changed. Since the Bull Demon King had obtained a portion of the ancient demon sage's heavenly demon heritage, it was impossible that he did not know the origins of the ancient demon sage. Bull Demon King. Who exactly is that ancient demon sage? The Bull Demon King was dressed in a monk's robe that was transformed from the light of Buddha. He answered honestly when he heard the question. Reporting to Buddha, this demon is the ancestor of my lineage, Demon Sage Ci Tai. Demon Sage Ci Tai? Isn't that one of the 10 great demon gods of the ancient demon court? Rumor has it that this ancient demon sage has already fallen. Old Pig's voice sounded. On the other side, Monkey, Old Pig, and Old Sha flew over with a look of shock on their faces. Ci Tai's original appearance was hideous. It looked like a water buffalo, but it had huge horns and pitch-black fur. It was a heavenly demon that had transformed from an ancient Khanate divine beast. It was also one of the top 10 heavenly demons in the ancient heavenly court. This was an extremely terrifying ancient demon sage. The Bull Demon King's expression was calm as he looked at Monkey, Old Pig, Old Sha, and the others, who had complicated expressions on their faces. He looked at them as if they were strangers. Although Demon Sage Ci Tai was injured by a few of the witch tribe experts during the Great Witch Demon War, he did not fall. All these years, he has been recuperating in the Northern Demon Court of the North Continent. According to my estimation, this demon should have recovered completely during this period of time. Old Pig could not help but scoff when he saw the Bull Demon King's expression. Bull Demon King, aren't you betraying your master and ancestors now? The Bull Demon King put his palms together and bowed respectfully to Qin Feng before turning to Old Pig. Benefactor, you must be joking. Demon Sage Ci Tai is an enemy of Buddha and has committed grave sins. It is only right for me to separate myself from such evil creatures. But Almsgiver is right. He is my ancestor after all. The sins he committed are the sins of this disciple. After saying that, he turned to Qin Feng. Buddha, if I meet Demon Sage Ci Tai in the future, even if I have to die, I will get rid of that evil demon for Buddha. The Bull Demon King looked exceptionally righteous and awe-inspiring. He was truly a Buddhist monk with great virtue. Monkey, Old Pig, and Old Shot did not know whether to laugh or cry. They could not help but feel wary. This kind of forceful expiation technique was truly terrifying and fearsome. However, it was also conceivable that Demon Sage Ci Tai would not let the matter rest since they had offended him. That was an ancient demon sage. The Bull Demon King had only touched the edge of the ancient demon sage, and he had already caused them to be in such a sorry state. If Demon Sage Ci Tai really attacked, it would be even more terrifying. The road ahead was difficult. The few of them looked solemn. Qin Feng pondered for a moment. He suppressed his fear of Demon Sage Ci Tai and looked at the Bull Demon King. All right, give me a copy of your heavenly demon's inheritance. Yes, Supreme Buddha. The Bull Demon King did not say another word. As he spoke respectfully, a ball of demonic light appeared on his palm. The ball of demonic light the size of a ping-pong ball flew down and was caught by Qin Feng in the next moment. This ball of demonic light turned into an extremely strange green book. He seemed to have a strange demonic power that could plunder all living things. Heavenly Demon Great Technique. The 4 strange, ancient words seemed to contain an immeasurable amount of ferocious demon souls. Qin Feng smiled and kept it in the Lord God space. Even if the Bull Demon King was completely expiated, he would still verify it a few times and use the Lord God space to check its authenticity. It was better to be safe than sorry. After checking that there was nothing fishy, he would analyze it in the Lord God space and turn it into nourishment for the growth of the innate Tao of creation. At the same time, The bull demon king also turned into a golden light and flew into the Buddha kingdom behind him. He chanted scriptures day and night to condense his golden body and Buddha kingdom. The thousands of rays of Buddha light gradually disappeared behind his head and turned into a fist of clear sacred Bodhi Buddha light that illuminated the entire world. After dealing with the great sage who pacifies heaven, the bull demon king, this calamity was completely over. Qin Feng, monkey, old pig, and old sand heaved a sigh of relief. However, looking at the crumbling emerald cloud mountain that had turned into yellow sand, the four of them showed a hint of pity. They also felt that countless karma was gathering towards them, and their fate was obscure. Chapter 1378. Half a month later, in Jade Cloud Mountain's banana cave, a graceful figure was looking at the green mountain from afar. Her beautiful eyes were filled with emptiness. At the foot of the mountain, there was a master and a few disciples who were gradually walking away. Beside her, Red Boy had a complicated expression. He was sent back a few days ago and regained his memories. Although he had lost the true Samadhi fire in his body, a new true Samadhi fire seed was being nurtured. He believed that in a few decades, he would be able to regain his cultivation. Although he had returned to Jade Cloud Mountain's banana cave, many years had passed and things had changed. The countless demons on the mountain had been completely wiped out. Further away, the volcano was said to have been quelled. Countless creatures were reciting the mercy of the Iron Fan deity. It was said that not only did the master and his disciples build a temple, Princess Iron Fan was also involved. A few strange, ancient trees grew in the Mountain of Flames. It was a type of peach tree that could not be eaten up. It bore endless fruits. After eating, there would be more. It fed countless people who had lost their homes due to the desertification of the earth. All of this came from the hands of the Lord of the boundless sea, Tathagata. When a land was completely fertile in the coming year, the people within tens of thousands of miles would be considered to have been completely revived. Seeing the truth, all dharmas are empty. In an instant, all dharmas are the same. Once the scenery can no longer be hidden, it will be a naked encounter. I decided to say, Buddha's heart seal. Some people refused to believe in the truth and went straight to the source, picking leaves and looking for branches to teach. How many times to live? How many times to die? It has been like this since ancient times. There are many gods and ghosts. Returning to the origin, there are no children. Practicing Buddhism, practicing Tantra, it is convenient for different schools to return to the origin. Since walking the path of nirvana, I know that life and death are empty. Walking is empty. Sitting is empty. Silent movements are all empty. Even when the white blade is near the head, it is like a sharp sword cutting through the spring breeze. Suddenly, I realized that the source of the wonderful heart is like a cracked shell. There are 6 joys in the dream, but after realizing it, there are no saints or mortals. The root of troubles is Bodhi. Sin and happiness have no nature. Where can one find it? After being freed, one can rest openly. Don't climb, don't cling, follow fate, drink and peck. Don't change, follow fate. Walk without hindrance, free and happy. In the distance, the clear voice of the scripture seeking team seemed to be carried by the wind, faintly reverberating in the depths of the clouds and mist thousands of miles away. It was right by his ear. Unknowingly, Princess Iron Fan's face was full of tears. At the foot of the Emerald Cloud Mountain, in the group that was traversing the mountain ridge to obtain the scriptures, the monkey had an indifferent expression. The arrogance on his face seemed to have completely disappeared, as if he was a Buddhist expert that had cultivated for countless years and had seen through everything. Brother Monkey, aren't you going to take a look? Old Pig could not help but ask. His gaze was directed at the verdant jade Cloud Mountain. Monkey paused in his footsteps and looked at the towering Emerald Cloud Mountain. A drop of crystalline tear seemed to roll down from the corner of his eye. Amidst the tears, Qin Feng and Tyrant saw a circle of pure and holy Buddhist light radiating from the back of the monkey's head. The three faint golden Bodhi relics in the deepest part of the monkey's body emitted boundless Buddhist light, illuminating the void. The Western Pure Lands trembled. Praise from the Buddhas of the 10 directions. However, this phenomenon disappeared in an instant, as if it was just an illusion. Monkey wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and turned to leave. At this moment, his short figure seemed less human and more ethereal. He became a Buddha. Old Pig and Old Sand's expressions changed, and their eyes were filled with envy. At the side, Qin Feng shook his head inwardly. The group crossed the 800 miles volcano and soon entered the Golden Light Country. The Golden Light Country was named after the Golden Light Temple. The Golden Light Temple had a Buddha relic that emitted golden light all year round. However, when the master and disciples arrived, the Golden Light Pagoda relic of the Golden Light Temple was stolen. The monks of the Golden Light Temple lost their national treasure and became prisoners under the king's rage. When the group entered the Golden Light Country, they happened to stop at the Golden Light Temple and found the source of the trouble. Along the way, they discovered the claws and teeth of the myriad Holiness Dragon Palace in the Emerald Ripple Pool, which caused a lot of trouble. There was a 9-headed bug in the myriad Holiness Dragon Palace in the Emerald Ripple Pool. He was also a half-step golden immortal who cultivated the poison Tao. He happened to be Old Sand's Tao competitor. There was also the karma of Little White Dragon Aolai. The Emerald Ripple Pool's myriad Holiness Princess was the fiancée of the West Sea's third prince, Little White Dragon Aolai. With a monkey and Qin Feng, 2 half-step golden immortals comparable to ancient sacred beasts, this tribulation was daunting but not dangerous. After killing the 9-headed bug, retrieving the Golden Light relic, and receiving the national treasure, the group of monks of the Golden Light Temple was immediately released. It was worth mentioning that when Qin Feng and the monkey retrieved the Golden Light relic, the two each obtained a scripture from the Golden Light relic. When spring came and the flowers bloomed, the group left the Golden Light Country. After that, they passed by the Thorns Ridge and the Vermilion Country. In the Thorns Ridge, they met several wood-element celestial immortals and received a courteous reception for the first time. Tang Sanzang even courted the love of the apricot immortal of the 5 wood-element immortals. In the Vermilion Country, they met Guanyin Bodhisattva's mount, the Golden Fur Ho. The Golden Fur Ho and an imperial concubine of the Vermilion Country had a predestined relationship in the previous life. However, the Golden Fur Ho kidnapped the imperial concubine, forcing the king of the Vermilion Country to seek help from the master and disciples. The Golden Fur Ho was rumored to be a zombie. Zombies did not decay after death. Their flesh shrank into their bones, and they began to grow tendons with white hair. After 500 years, the white hair would turn black. After another 500 years, the black hair would turn red. After another 500 years, they would turn golden. After 1,000 years, there would be a heavenly thunder tribulation. Almost all zombies would be annihilated. The only one who turned golden was the Golden Fur Ho. The Golden Fur Ho was covered in golden hair, except for some white hair on its neck. That was also the flaw of its undying zombie true body. The Golden Fur Ho was a peak celestial immortal who cultivated the great Tao of death. It was only a step away from breaking through the Deva's 5th decay and advancing to the great Tao of death. If it could completely refine a small tuft of white hair one day, it would advance to the Emperor Zombie and attain the body of a half-step golden immortal. It would be qualified to pursue the great Tao of death. It also had a connate spiritual treasure, the Violet Gold Bell. It could release endless poisonous flames that could erode souls and bones. However, Qin Feng was prepared. It was easily suppressed by Qin Feng. However, considering the fate with Guanyin Bodhisattva, he did not injure the Golden Fur Ho. Instead, he summoned traveling monk Hui and to bring it back. The Golden Fur Ho was also an infatuated person. However, his imperial concubine had already reincarnated and ended her previous life. Qin Feng could be considered to have completely severed this strand of love for him. If the opportunity was right, There would be another Buddha under Guanyin Bodhisattva's seat in the future. Qin Feng could also be considered to have indirectly repaid a portion of the karmic debt from Guanyin Bodhisattva's guidance in the past. After rejecting the king of Zhuzi country's invitation to stay, they spent a night in Zhuzi country. On the second day, they set off again. After traveling for half a month, when everyone was tired, they unknowingly entered the Zhuogo Spring. It was also the place where the ancient Ho-Yi shot the sun. According to the legends, the place where the 9 golden crows fell. Chapter 1379. The Zhuogo Spring was only 1 to 2,000 miles away from Mount Huanghua. Not only was this place very famous among the people, but it was also very famous in the cultivation world. Rumor had it that in ancient times, there were 10 suns that appeared together and poisoned billions of living beings. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Billions of living beings were poisoned by the true fire of the sun. Back then, the great Magus of the Gomong tribe of the 12 ancestral Magus tribes failed to expel the 10 golden crows and was killed by them instead. Kwafu's good friend, the great Magus of the Hutu tribe, Ho-Yi, chased after the golden crows with the sun-shooting bow. He killed 9 of them, and only 1 escaped. The 9 dead golden crows landed in 9 strange areas and formed 9 hot springs. The Zhuogo Spring was one of them. Since the 9 great hot springs were transformed from the 9 great golden crows of the ancient times, they naturally contained an immeasurable amount of power of creation within them. Since the ancient times, many people had set their sights on the ancient golden crow corpse god. They went to search for the golden crow corpse god in hopes of earning some benefits. One had to know that the ancient golden crow was one of the Khanate divine beasts. After the decline of the phoenix race, it became the king of birds. Even the 5-color peacock and the golden-winged rock had to be ranked behind it. If the extremely domineering, true fire of the sun could be condensed, it would definitely be able to refine a Khanate, supreme, divine ability. It was just that most of these treasure hunters had no backing, or were people whose backgrounds were unknown. As everyone knew, the 9 golden crows were the biological sons of one of the demon race's Tao ancestors of the ancient demon court. Naturally, many immortals and gods had died back then because of this. There were even a few half-step golden immortals who coveted the golden crow corpse. Today, the era of the ancient demon court had passed. The Khanate great Yi-Dao ancestor, Di-Jun, had fallen. However, no one dared to blaspheme the place where the 9 golden crows fell. The reason was that as long as there were sects with inheritances, they knew that the youngest prince of the 10 golden crows had entered the Buddhist sect and had attained the position of Buddha. He was one of the 10 ancient Buddhas of the Buddhist sect. He was the Western Mahavajrayana Buddha. He was also the main body of Zen Master Wu Chao, who had given the scriptures to the monk, monkey, and Qin Feng on Mount Wu Chao. Seriously speaking, many anecdotes had happened in the hot springs where the 9 golden crows fell. Back then, the cowherd stole his niece's clothes and tricked the weaver girl into marrying him. It was in one of the hot springs. The Zhuogo Spring was once the territory of the 7 fairies of the heavenly court. However, the 7 fairies were unable to defeat the 7 spider demons who came later. Thus, the 7 spider demons occupied the place. When a master and disciples arrived, they had already encountered 7 spider spirits. Coincidentally, the 7 spider spirits were taking a bath. Old Pig had even transformed into a catfish and crawled into their crotch to tease them. Originally, the 7 spider spirits were going to be beaten to death by the monkey's stick when they had their eyes on the monk. However, Lao Sha cultivated the great Tao of poison and took a liking to the 7 spider demons. He pleaded for them and took them in as his in-name disciples. Along the way, Qin Feng, Tyrant, Monkey, and Old Pig had all laid out various chess pieces for the sake of entering Buddhism. Lao Sha was envious of them. It was not easy for him to see 7 spider demons who were talented in the Tao of poison. Thus, he decided to take them in as his disciples. This was the first time Lao Sha was asking for help. Monkey didn't want to reject Lao Sha's request. Thus, the few of them took a good bath in this treasured land. The 7 spider spirits had good eyesight. Although the golden crow's corpse and the Joie Gu spring had been taken away, the power of the true fire of the sun was left here. The hot spring that formed could not only cleanse one's hair, but it could also transform one's body. After soaking in it for a long time, it could greatly purify one's demonic energy and temper one's foundation. Beside the hot spring, Qin Feng sat cross-legged on a mountain rock. On the other side, Monkey also sat cross-legged on a green rock, meditating and comprehending the mysteries of the great Tao. On the side, there was a hot spring that formed a small lake that was several hundred meters wide in the middle of the mountain. Steam was rising from the ground, and the spring water was bubbling and bubbling. Tyrant, Old Pig, and Lao Sha were soaking in the hot spring. They were shirtless and content. Along the way, they had encountered wind, frost, snow, and rain. It was rare for them to come across such a treasured land. Tyrant had a mortal body. It had been close to 10 years since he left Great Tang from the west. He was also close to 30 years old. After years of trekking and the great suppression of the 5 signs of decay, he was already showing signs of old age. The spring water in the Joie Gu spring contained the spiritual energy of the sun, which was very beneficial to Tyrant. Qin Feng and Monkey both suggested that they stay here for 3 days to let Tyrant relax. On the other side, the 7 beautiful spider spirits, who were wearing 7-colored muslin clothes, pouted their lips and looked at the group of uncle masters who had taken over their treasured land. Qin Feng did not care about the scene in the Joie Gu spring. At this moment, in his consciousness, the inheritance of the great Tao of heavenly demon that he had obtained from the Bull Demon King had been completely digested. After digesting all the inheritance of the great Tao of heavenly demon, there was finally a change in the miraculous art of creation. It went from the initial stage to the initial stage. Once the miraculous art reached the initial stage, it could be said to have stabilized and was completely under Qin Feng's control. At this moment, the miraculous art in his primordial spirit was slowly circulating. The auspicious clouds seemed to have an additional domineering intent of plundering everything in the world and replenishing oneself. Plundering was creation. It was also a type of true intent of the great Tao of creation. This kind of fusion caused the auspicious clouds' great Tao origin formed by the primordial spirit relic to be greatly strengthened and replenished. Qin Feng could clearly sense that a part of the mysteries of the Khanate creation great Tao had been completely forgotten and turned into a golden immortal's instinct. His Khanate Tao aptitude also changed with this, becoming more mysterious and perfected. He was very close to the 4th step of the outer Tao derivation technique. The 4th step of the outer Tao derivation technique was similar to the 5 signs of heavenly decay. It was not triggered by him, but passively. It could descend at any time. As he completely comprehended and controlled the heavenly demon's inheritance, Qin Feng realized that the Khanate creation great Tao seemed to have an almost innate restraint against demons. The miraculous art of creation seemed to contain the mysteries of billions of demons and countless types of demon bodies. Qin Feng had also vaguely realized recently that studying the physiques of demons, humans, and many other races had great benefits for the Khanate creation great Tao. The all-life physique actually contained the essence of the creation of heaven and earth. It was the most mysterious. Absorbing the mysteries of the all-life physique had many benefits for him in refining his Khanate Tao aptitude. However, this process was rather complicated. Getting rid of the false and retaining the true, getting rid of the impurities and retaining the essence was not an easy task, even for the creator space. However, this was not Qin Feng's goal today. The miraculous art of creation's miraculous art of creation was just a coincidence to him. Slay the present. Today, he wanted to take advantage of the time he spent recuperating in the Joie Gu spring to slay his present body in one fell swoop. Qin Feng had slain his past body a few years ago. It had fused with the past present, and future bodies. Slaying his present body had been dragging on. There were two reasons. First, the present body was different from the past body. It was extraordinarily difficult. Second, his understanding of the past, present, and future bodies was not sufficient. If he were to slay his present body rashly, it might cause an accident. However, this worry was completely dispelled 2 years ago when he obtained a sutra from the Golden Light relic in the Golden Light Temple of the Golden Light Nation. 3 million words. Yes, a small celebration. I will continue to work hard. Chapter 1380. The Tathagata Sutra Now. It was the Tathagata Sutra of the past, the Tathagata Sutra, and the future Constellation Calamity Sutra of the Pure Land of Ultimate Bliss. The Tathagata Sutra Now came from Shakyamuni Buddha, who was also the leader of the Central Pure Land of Saha world of the 10 Pure Lands of Buddhism. The Tathagata Sutra Now was a very famous sutra written by Shakyamuni Buddha. Although it did not form its Tao through the great Tao of time, this sutra contained the cultivation method of the Tao seed of time. It also contained other cultivation methods of the postnatal and connate great Taos. However, the Tathagata Sutra Now was a little special. It did not explain it directly, but described it through Buddhist sutras. Ordinary half-step golden immortals who obtained the Tathagata Sutra Now would only comprehend the mysteries related to their own connate great Tao. For example, the monkey also obtained the Tathagata Sutra Now. He would only comprehend the mysteries of the great Tao of fire and connate great Tao of strength. Logically speaking, Qin Feng would only comprehend a portion of the connate creation great Tao in the Tathagata Sutra Now. However, Qin Feng still had the overgod space, which allowed him to do what ordinary half-step golden immortals could not do, which was to delve into the great Tao of time. However, Qin Feng also knew that after claiming to have comprehended the connate creation great Tao, he could not delve into the cultivation of other sutras for the time being. Therefore, he did not directly comprehend the Time Sutra Now. Instead, he used the overgod space to analyze it and turn it into a comprehension of the mysteries of time. He only comprehended it and did not cultivate it. Even so, it took the creator space 1 to 2 years to decipher the mysteries of the current body in this Buddhist scripture. It was only a few days before entering the Zhuoguo spring that he finally grasped the mysterious spiritual opportunity. Before he killed his present body, Qin Feng had always thought that killing his present body would definitely lead to an unimaginable calamity. It would be a battle of life and death. However, after comprehending the Tathagata Sutra now passed down by Shakyamuni Buddha, Qin Feng realized that he was wrong. It should be said that the great emperors of the Spirit Sea realm had all chosen the most difficult path. Actually, after killing his current body, he had changed his way of thinking. He was truly enlightened. In the Spirit Sea realm, the emperors wanted to kill the 3 lifetimes for only one reason, and that was to gather all the power of the 3 lifetimes and become the only one in the River of Fate. That way, they would be able to reach the 16th level. As a result, emperors would involuntarily choose to enter the River of Time after becoming an emperor. They would kill all the time imprints that were related to them and forcefully merge with them. According to Qin Feng's original calculations, he would eventually walk on this path as well. Where he severed all 3 lifetimes, he would gather the power of destiny and begin to break through to the 16th level. However, after comprehending the Tathagata Now Sutra, he realized that the great emperors of the Spirit Sea realm had made a mistake. The time imprints in the River of Time actually originated from him. They were no different from his will, although they were all independent existences. Why must they be enemies and kill each other? Why couldn't they give up their hostility and take the initiative to absorb it? After all, even if the time imprints had their own independent will, they were still one person. At this moment, as Qin Feng's primordial spirit relic emitted a mysterious and hazy aura, he felt as if he had suddenly jumped from one space to another. Invisible to the naked eye, the surrounding Zhuogu spring and the boundless mountains and rivers seemed to gradually change. Even the sky seemed to have transformed into a huge torrent that had no beginning or end and no end as it whizzed past. Rumble. It was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was splitting. Billions of lives were falling. In the midst of the gigantic torrent, Qin Feng felt an immense pressure. The torrential waves gushed forth, and he felt as though he had transformed into an ordinary mortal. He felt so powerless, like a small boat in the middle of a flood. The river of time. Perhaps it could be called the river of fate. The endless river water within emitted a sparkling and translucent light like the stars. They were like stars, and their trajectories were extremely mysterious and unfathomable. Even a peak connate half-step golden immortal like Qin Feng could only see a portion of the trajectories of some light spots when he exerted all his strength. Every river light spot was a living being. As the river light spots surged through the river of fate, it was the trajectory of that living being's life. It was also the life of that living being. Not to mention ordinary living beings. Even for immortals, half-step golden immortals were just legends in the river of fate. Only Buddhas and Tao fathers who had grasped a great Tao of heaven and earth could touch this taboo. Above the river of fate, Qin Feng felt the immense pressure of fate. He knew that he couldn't stay here for long. Otherwise, his lifespan would very likely be exhausted here. In order to fuse with his current fate imprint, he had to sense the location of his fate imprint in the river of fate. Qin Feng was somewhat glad that he had switched to a Buddhist cultivation technique. If he hadn't changed his cultivation system and fused with this place, it would have been difficult for him to even enter the river of fate, let alone sense the location of his fate imprint. Even if he had forced his way into the river of fate, the huge commotion would have attracted the attention of the Buddhas and Tao fathers. It wouldn't have been as silent as it was now. A moment later, Qin Feng sensed the location of his fate imprint in the river of fate. It was a tributary that was 100 times or even 1,000 times brighter than the surrounding river water. The life imprint of ordinary living beings on the river of fate would only manifest as a drop of water, but Qin Feng had manifested a tributary. The moment Qin Feng arrived, the tributary seemed to sense danger. Countless streams of light flashed and transformed into a figure that was identical to Qin Feng on the river of fate. He was also a half-step golden immortal at the peak of the third step, and his pressure was comparable to that of an ancient demon sage. At this moment, his aura wasn't inferior to Qin Feng's at all. Seeing Qin Feng's true body, the Qin Feng that was formed by the fate imprint also manifested the water-seen diffraction sword in his hand. It turned into a stream of light and slashed at Qin Feng. The fierce killing intent was abnormally terrifying. It was much more terrifying than the Bull Demon King's killing move. Qin Feng's primordial spirit's expression didn't change. The moment the fate imprint rushed in front of him, his 10 fingers flew out and intertwined to form an incomparably mysterious hand seal. In an instant, he blasted it out. The charging Qin Feng instantly turned into a stream of light and entered his body. On the blue stone of the Zhuogu spring, Qin Feng suddenly opened his eyes. A mighty force suddenly descended on his body. A certain level in his body seemed to have broken through naturally, and his Taoist body to Sheng almost instantly. I finally severed my present body. Feeling the skyrocketing power in his body, his primordial spirit, and his Taoist body, Qin Feng closed his eyes slightly and sighed with satisfaction. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.